Whew. All right. Let's see. So, what was the winner of the poll? What was the winner of the poll? On time as usual was the winner of the poll. Guys, I am flattered. Sometimes when I come into these streams, there are rumors, uh, slander, propaganda spread that I am typically late. But as we all know, I show up roughly on time as usual. Let me tell you guys what happened. So, an exciting change for the streams. Very exciting change for the streams. How do I end this poll? Let me end this poll. Very exciting change for the streams. So, normally, I eat dinner before the streams start. All right? And that is actually usually the reason that I'm very late. Sometimes very late. If I happen to be late, as some people claim, it is usually because I'm trying to eat dinner. I'm trying to eat very fast. And usually I'll schedule the stream being like, all right, by the time I'm done eating dinner, it'll be time for the stream to start. And then there I am sitting trying to eat my dinner really fast. I'm like, you know what? This is wrong. I should not. They would not want me to force myself to eat dinner at an unhealthy speed just to get to the stream on time. They don't want that for me. And so then I eat a little slower, and then I end up being a little bit, maybe sometimes occasionally late for the streams. Sometimes. Last stream, I actually missed dinner. And if you recall, I was ordering my dinner off of DoorDash towards the end of the stream, and then I realized something. Light bulb goes off. Why don't I just always do this? Why don't I just always order dinner and eat dinner after the stream is over? Genius. That is what I'm going to be doing from now on. Pat Galley says, you've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. I used to... Bragodier says, the street said Morge hates Law, and I believe it. I don't hate Law. I just know him for what he is, which is a support fighter. He's a support fighter. He's probably the best support fighter in the game. Besides maybe Perona or Sugar, characters like that. But Law, top 3 support fighter in the game. 1v1 fighter, he's literally never proven himself. So there's no argument whatsoever for Law being a good 1v1 fighter. That's actually pure headcanon. You cannot find evidence of that in the manga. But support fighter, he's shown his color. He's an amazing support fighter. I believe he contributed more over the course of the Big Mom fight. You can be a support fighter and contribute more to the overall fight than the better 1v1 fighter. That's a thing. That's what happened. Pat Galley says, you've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. No, I have not. I did used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was, I guess, sophomore year of college mainly. And that game is so broken. It's a money trap. It is a giant money trap. Keenan says the Law disrespect is crazy. Brago says, yikes. Brago will proceed to post no panels from the manga showing Law actually fighting anyone 1v1 and doing well because they don't exist because he's not a good 1v1 fighter. Top tier support fighter. It's just a fact. It is an actual factual fact. You can read that entire Big Mom fight. Law got no good 1v1 interactions with Big Mom. All of his attacks were through openings when she was distracted. That's a pure fact. There's nothing to say. He beat Smoker. Law did beat Smoker. Let's not forget Law beat Smoker in Virgo. So that's about where he's at. I'm just kidding. Law is probably scraping Yonko Commander tier. I'd give him a good run at Doflamingo now, but come on. He's not doing better than that. There's literally nothing that suggests that he would do better than that. Yeah, no, he did Smoker. Yeah, he did beat Smoker. I put Law solidly. Oh, Phantom Greyfire says, Morge, I'm once again asking for you to make the chat bigger. All right, let's see what I can do. What would you guys want to be bigger? Me or the chat? I like to believe you want more of me, but you know what I need? I need a different template. That's the thing. One that provides for a bigger side of the screen for chat. Because I want people to be able to see their names, once the stream is over and they're going back to the, VOD. I want people to be able to see their names. You guys tell me if that's any better. Conan Yagami says, bro, beating Smoker is nothing special. I am inclined to agree, but I see some ridiculous things being said about Law on Twitter that are based in pure fantasy and delusion. What do you mean the Law disrespect? Chaster says no one's here for you. Pat Wrong says, has the payoff for the raid failing fallen off because of how long this arc has gone on for? Do people have too much Wano fatigue for it to work? If people have Wano fatigue, then that means that the raid really needs to fail. You should not be feeling fatigue at the most important point of the arc. Okay? You think when Ace was getting a hole punched through him by a Kaido, people were like, ah, geez, this arc, it's going on quite a long time. You think when Whitebeard was standing giving his dying speech, people were like, geez, this Marineford fatigue. No, ridiculous. The fact that people even say Wano fatigue is a thing means that we need to get out of this rut. Yeah, Marineford was way shorter. No, but Marineford was shorter, but you have to understand, like, Marineford, that saga was a 100-chapter saga. It didn't start at 550. It started at basically, like, the saga, that storyline that we were in, started basically at 490-something. Zorobo says, make a poll for chat or Morge. No, I don't want to see the results of that. Not that I don't have faith in in what the outcome would be, but I don't feel like putting up that poll right now. I don't have to. You can't make me. Randy Troy says, dusting my magnifying glass off for this chat. Come on now. Now I can't even ignore it. All right. Let's make the chat bigger. Does it work if I do this? You want me to move over and the chat take my place? Or if I move chat over here, then no one can see it. There's no solution. All right, I'm just going to make it bigger and no one can see anyone's names, and I hope this makes you all happy. And next time I'll try and find a better template for this. Brago DA says Clifford doesn't allow for fatigue. The fact that Brago calls the kind of Clifford is just... All right. Keenan says, speaking of Law, why did he say his attack needed to go further and reach the ground when it was already 100 feet through Big Mom? That hole he made is going to be important. I just don't know how yet. That's an interesting point. I don't know if he specifically needed it to reach all the way to the ground. My interpretation was kind of just that each time we've seen Law use K-Room, the size of his sword basically like is correlated to how strong the attack is, right? So the first time he used it, he did not increase his sword size. He gave Big Mom like a little zap. The second time he used a very huge sword that clearly affected Big Mom more, that kind of broke her bones and stuff. She complimented his abilities. And so this time he's going all out, so I don't know if it was necessarily, maybe I have to read the chapter again, but I don't know if it was necessarily like his goal was I need to make the sword reach all the way to the ground, or just like I need to make this attack as big as possible, which happened to be big enough to reach the ground. And yeah, I know all of the innuendo that comes with that. Yeah. The pirate here says, do you think Big Mom is down? I think she's down temporarily. I think she's down for the moment. Is she down for the rest of like the series? Is this the end of Big Mom? No, I think that'd be kind of crazy. Anime Devil Hunter says, did Big Mom use Conqueror's Haki during the fight? Advanced Conqueror's Haki, I think whenever she was using it, it must have been on. Like, if you go back and read the fight, I did do like a reread of the fight, basically like with each panel that involved Kid and Law versus Big Mom. And here's my observations, which is just basically most of Big Mom's moments were off screen, so we generally did not get to see what she could do. We mostly cut back to see what Kid and Law were doing to her. That's kind of in general. Like, we would see after effects, like we see her using Elbaf Cannon, etc. So it's a little hard to say. I like to think that the moments that she was beating them up, off screen, right, between chapter 1030 to 1038, I think was that the window? Maybe 1031 to 1038, right? Between the time that they first used their awakening to 1038, I like to think that she busted out the Conqueror's Haki, Advanced Conqueror's Haki, and kind of fucked them up with that. And then I think that... Was she using Advanced Conqueror's Haki when she was hitting Law when Law was on the ground on her? Like 1039, when Law was using his final attack and she was just pummeling Law. I personally don't think she was using Advanced Conquerors right there. We didn't really get the visual effect of it, which is usually like a non-contact hit. And I just think that like she may not have been in a state right then to be using it effectively, just because she was kind of beaten up at that point and kind of being taken by surprise, as Law always does. The pirate hero. Nope, got you. Thanks. Grizzly Adam says, Morge, if... Whoops. Let me scroll back up. Grizzly Adam says, Morge, if Smoker joins the Straw Hats, then what happens to Toshigi? These two seem like a package deal. I personally believe that if Smoker, if there is a storyline at all for Smoker and Toshigi and Wano, then Toshigi has her own storyline in Wano. Toshigi, she's got, a lot of work to be done for her character, right? People kind of shit on her for what happened in Punk Hazard, but I saw that more so as, a lot of setup for what her character could potentially become later down the line, right? So Toshigi, since Alabasta through Punk Hazard, it's always been the same. She's struggling with the same conflict, right? She's too weak to be able to enact the sort of justice or ideals that she wants. So Toshigi has a big storyline coming up. So I'm interested to see if they do part ways or if Toshigi has her own storyline in store for her. Edwin Rodriguez says, if Big Mom lost alongside the Calamities, how can you still be confident that the raid will fail? It seems that everything is leading to the final round. Because especially if Big Mom... to me, it's the manner in which they're losing. The manner in which they're losing, you can go back to the Tobi Roppo fights, which were factually anticlimactic, as most people did not realize that those were the end of the fights, right? Most people thought, for example, Jinbei versus Who's Who was not over, right? Most people thought Frankie versus Sasaki, people were confused about that, which means it's factually anticlimactic if it's lacking a clear sense of climax, right? Same thing with Sanji versus Queen. You can go back, look at the polls people were running. Most people thought that Queen was going to get up, fight another round, stuff like that. Even right now, if you go to Twitter right now and see the polls that TCB Scan, Soulstorm, etc. are running, most people were confused, is this the end of Big Mom, is Big Mom defeated, etc., right? So to me, it's clear Oda's not writing these fights with a clear sense of climax. Oda's giving us a false sense of victory. Big Mom's fight was one chapter. Total, if you scrape together all the Big Mom chapters, I went back and counted, if you count up all those pages of all the Big Mom versus Kid and Law fights pages, it comes up to almost 2 chapters worth of material. So a Yonko, not just a Yonko, probably 3rd or 4th most important villain in the entire series, with by far the longest amount of individual build-up towards her conflict and her character, right, as a villain, being defeated by not Luffy but side characters in 1, maybe almost 2 chapters if you count it all together and scrape everything together. No, to me this is more so it makes way more sense for this to be basically a setup for the tables to turn, right? So false sense of victory, Oda did just enough to make people feel okay, maybe the fight's over. Especially the fact that Oda created a giant particular hole in Onigashima which Big Mom could fall through and temporarily remove her from the battlefield for a little bit. I think that that's very convenient. Same way that King and Queen get knocked away from Onigashima for a little bit before Onigashima comes down in the Flower Capital, potentially. Visual Knight says, what do you think about showing the Gorosei and how it relates to the 5-act structure? Before the outside world would only be shown in between. I think that the Gorosei, I don't know. I think that either way, Act 3 is probably ending soon, right? No matter what happens, even if you think this is the end of the arc, or if you think it's not the end of the arc, Act 3 is ending soon. So, a glimpse of the Gorosei I don't think is a huge deal. I mean, I don't think that that's necessarily, breaking any sort of specific rule of Wano, Partier says, super chat from Power Rangers, could Law use a powered down countershock as a defibrillator? Something similar to what NL did. To restart his heart or something like that? That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I wouldn't be surprised if Law's got abilities like that up his sleeve. Law's done shit, he's fixed his own arm. Am I right? Law fixed his own arm, right? Law's done some stuff. He's got some cool abilities, as we all know, right? I think Law's probably I think you got to do a lot to probably put down Law just because of the amount of doctor shit that he can pull out of his ass. Ray Del Ninja says, has it been stated exactly what Law's awakening does? Because it just kind of seems like he stabs Big Mom and stuff happens. Yeah, I thought I understood. I was making a guess at Law's awakening when it first came out, and I thought that it was something it turns the inside of the opponent's body into a room, the way he can turn the whole surrounding space into a room. He turns somebody's interior body into a room, and then he can play Operation with them, kind of, but it's not a hard difference. Even with that interpretation, it's not really a hard difference from what his ability was before. Now it just seems kind of simpler, but just strong, more damage output than we expected. Simpler in that it's just it kind of just, it's a one-trick pony. You stab the opponent, and then you can do severe damage from the inside. I suppose similar to Gamma Knife, but just like jacked up. I don't really get why it's an awakening. It just seems like a really strong move that Law has. But at the same time, it's super effective, so who really cares, right? Like, it works. Chris says, Big Mom's Iron Balloon, he says this in quotes, is pretty clearly Advanced Conqueror's Haki in my opinion. She may not use it on attacks, or Devil Fruit is effective without it. You're saying it's like the shield that she has up at all times? Yeah, but we saw Big Mom use a clear Advanced Conqueror's Haki attack on page 1. Like, it was very visually clear that it was Advanced Conqueror's Haki, and I think it was immediately the chapter after Advanced Conqueror's Haki was explained to us. So it was kind of Oda just being like, see, Big Mom has it too. That's my view on it, but like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if her durability is also a product of Advanced Conqueror's Haki. That's why she can be injured when Mother Carmel's photo is broken, because it affects her spirit in some way, right? Blue says, I think K-Room should rhyme with room. Kroom? So is it K-Room or Kroom? I'm not sure. Jasper says, Morge, thoughts on Kid still being relatively healthy and laughing while Law seems to be done. It feels like Oda's gonna have Kid continue to fight. I mean, look, if we're at the end of the arc, then I think it would be a real shame if Kid did not get another swing at Kaido or something in some sense. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's how Oda kind of wants to draw it, you know? Like, if Kid's laughing and stuff, but at the end of it, he's, like, really beat up and tired. Like, I didn't think Sanju was down for the count after the end of his fight, but turns out he is, you know? So it's however Oda wants to do it. Parsonetta Anime says, the only way I could see Big Mom getting back up is if Oda is weakening her enough to have a Straw Hats versus Big Mom, like Thriller Bark against Oars. I just don't think Big Mom, like, Straw Hats versus Kaido makes sense, because there's, like, lots of setup for that fight. Big Mom versus Straw Hats feels kind of arbitrary to me. It's kind of just something for the Straw Hats to do, and I don't know if the Straw Hats are like, you know, it's kind of just like, it feels to me, it's either this, right? Either it's like I don't think bringing Big Mom back to defeat her again makes sense, right? It's just kind of weird, choppy decision-making with the writing, right? So it's either false sense of victory for Big Mom to come back, makes sense to me, especially because most people are like not even sure if this was the end of Big Mom, right? Like to me, that seems like false sense of victory. I think she'll probably fall through the hole, be gone for like 10 chapters, then be back. Maybe 5 chapters, 6 chapters, be back. But I don't think it makes much sense to have her defeated, then defeat her again. It just feels kind of, just feels anticlimactic or dragged on all around. You know, either it's for a twist or she's just done for a while. Easy News Explains says, you better be Menace on Twitter when the raid fails. I will. Don't worry about that. Anime Devil Hunter says Kid could get a 1v1 against who? I mean, okay, if we want to play the hypothetical game of like, okay, Kid's gonna get some fight or something like that, or like the raid doesn't fail or something like that. If you want to play the hypothetical game, hold on, I got some super chats I got to get to in a second. If you want to play the hypothetical game, then I'd be like, okay, maybe Luffy's temporarily beaten by Kaido for a bit, then Kid goes in, gets his second win against Kaido, gets some of his angst out, his pent up like anger over the course of, you know, this arc, because it's technically supposed to all be directed towards Kaido. At least buys enough time for Luffy to get back on his feet and defeat Kaido. That's if we want to play the hypothetical game. AJH17 says, why did Oda make a point to say Victor Jinbei? It's like he wants us to be certain the fight is over, because before he did that, many were doubting it's over. I agree. Although, you know what, I'm just cheating there. Reality is, like, Oda does usually write Victor this person, Victor that person. He does that, like, go back to Alabasta and stuff like that. So I'd be lying if I said, oh, that's a sign for the raid failing. I don't think it is. But I do think it's funny that, like, if you go back in time, like, everybody is certain that obviously Jinbei versus Uzu is not finished. Like, I think there was a small minority of people who thought it was over. And then turns out it is over, and everyone's just like, what just happened? Okay, you know what? And then people go back and say it was a really good fight. Crazy. David Zoller says, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Arcane. I've shown a friend the first 3 episodes, and man, it's the best thing that came out in 2021. Where's Brago? Is Brago in chat? Brago's got some things to say about Arcane. Brago, tell him your thoughts on Arcane. If Braga's in here, I would love for him to share his thoughts on Arcane. See how they go over. I have not seen Arcane, unfortunately. Um, Brago told me not to watch it, so, but everybody else said it's really good, so I don't know. I don't know who to believe. Ivan back from the card shop. That's a weird name. That's a funny name. It's like my dad back from the cigarette store. Cigarette store. We don't have those. You mentioned how Kid's Fruit is similar to Luffy's thematically with the scrap coming back together. Do you think this relates to your theory on his crew? I do think it relates to my theory on his crew. I do think that. I feel like it's one of those theories that if I share here, though, like, I've already said this theory before. Like, to me, it fits, like, quite a bit. Like, magnetism, that already fit in my head that, like, okay, the ability sounds like he could bring people together, especially with an arc being about Conqueror's Hockey, being a good leader, stuff like that. I was like, okay, maybe Kid's ability does involve bringing people together. But also being able to, like, come back from adversity, come back from failure, right? Come back from being broken apart. I would really love to see the next step in Kid's character arc because I think he's got something interesting coming. Braga's not here. Yeah, blame Braga if I never watch it. It's entirely his fault. Mr. Arcade says Kid and Law versus Sanji and Zoro. I think Kid and Law would win because no. I think it's tricky. It's actually very tricky. I think people are being too cut and dry in that, like, Kid and Law just beat Big Mom, therefore blah blah blah. Whereas like Zoro and Sanji just like once they got their power ups, they pretty much like mid or low diffed their commander opponents, right? So that's one. So it's tricky. Okay, let me give arguments for both sides. On the one side, you have Law, who is the best support fighter in the entire series. The best support fighter in the entire series. Trafalgar Law, undoubtedly. 1v1, of course, does not hold up to either of those other two characters because he has zero feats to suggest he could. But as a support fighter, as that was the only thing he showcased during the battle with Big Mom, in general, against any of the Yonko, as a support fighter, unparalleled. Excellent support fighter. I think Sanji and Zoro would have quite a lot of trouble dealing with Law's support sneaky shenanigans. No upfront fighting for him, that's for sure. He's not one of those, hockey masters or skilled combatants, but his support abilities, very, very dangerous to be reckoned with. Now, on top of that, you've got Kid, right? Kid, who is in theory a counter to Zoro. It's like hard to say, kind of like, Kid never pulled Big Mom's sword out of her hands, so I guess we can give Zoro the credit that Kid wouldn't just pull his sword out of his hands. But it's just, I don't know. It's weird. Like, it's like theoretically shouldn't Kid be a counter, right? So that's your argument for Kid and Law. My argument for Zoro and Sanji is that Zoro and Sanji have a longer history of teamwork, and Zoro and Sanji's teamwork has historically been super effective, right? Kid and Law, yeah, they showcased some good teamwork during the Big Mom fight. I feel like a lot of it was like my turn, your turn type of stuff, and but I do think they had good teamwork. It was mostly my turn, your turn. Whereas Zoro and Sanji, historically, if you go back to the series, they do lots of like really cool team combos like over time, right? Like the groggy monsters, even simple shit like Sanji launching Zoro with his leg up to attack. I forget the name of the biggest groggy monster. I forget the name of the biggest groggy monster. My bad. Hamburg, Pickles, and is the second one's name Pickle? The green one? Now I think I'm going crazy. I don't. Pan? Maybe I might just be naming food now or like cooking things. Okay, but you guys get what I'm saying? That or like ores, like they're like Zoro's cutting up a building while Sanji's kicking it, and obviously this stuff wouldn't be useful against Kid and Law. But my point is more so like they have good teamwork. Like Zoro and Sanji have legitimately really good teamwork when it comes down to it, and they've just been in the situation more times. So that's my thought on. I think that's a cool matchup though. Chris says, what's the bigger W if the theory turns out true? Morge's The Raid Will Fail or Joy Boy's Ghost Piece? Is this even a comparison? The Raid Will Fail is like the entire Wano arc. That's the difference between like that's the story. That's like the entire Wano arc. If the raid fails, then like the entire arc is something different, right? That's so drastically different. But Ghost Piece is a really bold theory. I'm not trying to downplay Ghost Piece, but it's just like the raid fail is like this is not just me saying it. I'm saying like if they lose here, that is factually objective. Like that is a different direction for literally every single plot line that everybody imagined. You know what I mean? Ghost Piece is like an interesting twist to add into what people already believe. But like the raid fail is literally like everything, right? So, and that's not just me hyping up my own theory. It's just factually true. Like that's what's a bigger impact on the plot. Everything being drastically different in the opposite direction of what people expect, or one additional spooky element being thrown in. Keenan says, thanks, man. I really, really appreciate it. That's huge. Off topic, but can't help it. If Burgess ate Kuma's fruit and then extracted Blackbeard's pain and threw someone in... Okay, we got to follow this. If Burgess ate Kuma's fruit, so Burgess has now eaten Kuma's fruit, and then extracted Blackbeard's pain. Oh, I see. Took all out because Blackbeard takes more pain than normal. You'd think they'd get the amplified pain that the Yami Yami no Mi gives Blackbeard. So that combo is disgusting because it also heals Blackbeard. That would be pretty sick. That would be pretty sick. It's tricky because it's like... So Blackbeard, any damage he experiences more pain, right? So he experiences more... there's a difference between damage and pain, right? And I'd have to reread the exact translation for Kuma's ability. Does it repel damage or does it repel pain? It's hard. If it's like pure damage that it repels, then I think it would not be amplified as a technique. If it's like pain, if it's pain or suffering, it would be amplified. So that's a cool combo. It'd just be hilarious for Blackbeard because he has to, if they actually want to use that team combo, it's like Blackbeard has to get fucked up, like he has to get nothing happened, right? And go through extreme suffering. So that Burgess can then bounce it over to somebody else. But if they want to use that combo multiple times in succession, Blackbeard's basically getting like fucked up, like nothing happened, like over and over. That's hilarious. It's just hilarious to think about. It's just like what you would just probably never want to use that team combo. Bob Loris says, do you think Captain Kuro, Don Krieger, Arlong will be back in the story, aside from Arlong flashback and Fishman Island? You know, it's actually honestly like kind of bizarre that they've never resurfaced. I guess Oda really wants to keep a distinct difference between like the scope of what happens in the little blues, like East Blue and stuff, versus the big leagues, the Grand Line, right? So when East Blue stuff, he mostly just wants to pop back in to check on the happy stuff, the happy characters, the characters we like, right? But for the villains, right, I think it kind of goes to the idea that like the villains from back then, they're so insignificant or minuscule compared to the big fish that we have today that maybe he prefers not to check back in on them. Also, the villains from back then were like really shitty people besides Buggy. You know what I mean? Like really shitty characters. So like characters like Crocodile, like, you know, like why would you check back in on Kuro? He's just like, we don't really want to see Kuro have like an interesting little story afterwards. You know what I mean? I guess you could say the same about Crocodile, but Crocodile has the benefit in that he's a strong, impactful player in the world. So there's some interest there. Kuro, it's just like, why would we just check in on like a really shitty, weak character that was like a murderer and probably like he planned to kill a lot of people and did kill a lot of people in the past? You know? That's not fun. That's not a good use of a cover story. Bob Lore, nope, covered that. Big Pan, I was right. I was close. Julian Criswell says, "Got it. I swear to God, in my head, I had Big Pan, but it's such a ridiculous thing to say. You know what I mean? I'd be like, if I guess Big Pan, and like that's not actually a reference to anything. Not forget One Piece. It's just not a reference to anything, right? People, I would just feel weird saying it. So I did throw out Pan as a guess. My heart said Big Pan, but my scared brain said, what if it's Pan? It's close. It's Hamburg, pickles, and Big Pan. Julian Crispo says, got any thoughts on Katakuri Donut Pirates and Yamato Animal Kingdom Pirates joining Straw Hat Alliance in the late game? We approach a point where the late game alliance of the Straw Hats could genuinely be just like a David versus Goliath situation, but they're the Goliath. You know what I mean? Like, if we're approaching a point where, imagine the Straw Hats themselves. Once we're in the end game, right? The Straw Hats themselves, I fully expect Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji to be each able to take an admiral once we're in the end game, personally, right? I mean, like, if Zoro's taking on Mihawk and stuff, Sanji's still keeping up. People hypothesize Sanji versus Kizaru, Luffy and Akainu, in my opinion, like things like that, right? We approach a point, therefore, late game where it's like, okay, the Straw Hats themselves, like Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, like they can take on most of the top brass of, like they can take on the strongest the Marines have to have. The rest of the Straw Hats at that point very likely capable of taking on many of the Vice Admiral, like individually taking on Vice Admirals. Like, look what they're doing right now to some of the Yonko's elite, right? We already saw from Whitebeard's crew that a lot of Whitebeard's mid to lower level commanders could basically take on Vice Admirals, whereas high ones like Marco, Jozu, Vista, they were more so for the tippy top characters. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Strahts themselves, like, just the Straht crew alone, is a solid threat to, like, can take a lot of the Marines' strongest fighters. So then on top of that, you want to add in, like, Yamato, Katakuri, Marco, remnants of, like, Big Mom pirates, remnants of, like, Whitebeard pirates, potentially. Countries like Juano, Zou. Like, it starts to, like, plus their Grand Fleet, which is nothing to laugh at, you know, probably fucking Boa Hancock. It starts approaching a point where it's just like, fuck, these poor Marines, they're so screwed. It's just gonna be they're just gonna get rolled, like, fucking run over. Mr. Crescent, what's up? Do you mind explaining how the Viz translations for the first 600 chapters are bad, and if it would really affect a new reader's perspective? I watched the anime till I caught up during HC, and then HC. Am I crazy? HC. Whole cake? I'm gonna assume whole cake. Then switched over to the manga. Here is my perspective on the manga. Okay, so the Viz is bad in two ways. First half of the series, second half of the series, okay? But second half of the series is like, it's overtuned translation. So the translations are both accurate, right? But it tries. Second half of the series, you have Stephen Paul, who's actually a very, very, very talented, like very, very good translator, right? Very knowledgeable. As I understand, he was the most trusted source of One Piece translations before he joined Viz. I don't know what Viz did to that man, but they ruined him, all right? Because the way they make, this is second half of the series. I'll get to the first half in a second. Second half of the series, translations are accurate. Most people trust them for accuracy. But the way that the characters talk is unnatural. Characters talk in too, I guess, sophisticated English, or like using like vocabulary that feels unnatural, stilted dialogue, I suppose, just very like overtuned dialogue, I guess, right? To the point that it unfortunately takes away from a lot of the jokes that work better with simpler dialogue, you know, makes a lot of the conversations a little overly roundabout, or like not natural in how characters would speak, but still getting the point across, all right? Now, cut over to pre-time skip Viz. I generally think that pre-time skip Viz translations, I think you can read post-time skip Viz translations and still really enjoy the series. So for example, when I reread One Piece, I will read the colored Viz translations because there's only the colored versions available, and I sacrifice the hit in translation quality, like because the translations are still good, just slightly less natural to me, because I can read it in color, okay? For pre-time skip, Viz is really, really, really bad. Because pre-time skip Viz, it's not only inaccurate, very frequently, it misses the essence of what characters are trying to say, and it's too simplistic. So whereas post-time skip dialogue is almost like it's overtuned in terms of like how sophisticated they try to make the dialogue, and how they try to make it flow to the point it becomes unnatural. Pre-time skip, it's like, it's written like everything that characters say is dumbed down severely, and it often loses the essence, or just like it becomes unnatural in another way, as though these characters are speaking like just very, very like blunt, inarticulate styles of speaking. Does that make sense? Sorry I spent so long on that question, but like I think that that's something important that people should just know of. It's interesting, by the way, the colored manga that I read from, which you can find on Mangadex, just look up Mangadex digitally colored One Piece chapters, you'll find it right away. The first half of the series, it does not have the Viz translation. So I like reading the first half of the series colored. Second half of the series, it switches over to Viz, but at least Viz for the second half, it's it's more readable than the first half. So it works out pretty well. JP says, Zoro versus King had a bit of King disarming him and Zoro learning and managing to hold on to his swords. Maybe he would handle Kid disarming him too. It depends, because Zoro's solution to that was advanced Conqueror's Haki, right? which kids is not exactly the same issue as kings, right? So I don't know, like Zoro literally repelled king's blades like that, right? Whereas magnetism, I don't know if it works in that same manner, but maybe. I don't know how Zoro, like, Oda never wrote kid trying to take Napoleon from Big Mom. I'll say that. So it just, it depends. Jordan Allen says, with how long everything in the story takes, and Oda saying it'll wrap up in a few years, I doubt he'll tie up all the loose ends. Too many characters. Tashigi, question mark, Weevil, question mark, Vegabok, question mark, etc. Very low hopes. Jordan, I would not. No, Jordan, come on, man. I think Oda's got more in the bag than that. I think he's going to tie up quite a lot of loose ends. I think that there's, like, I don't know. I think that Oda's the type of writer who just would not leave a lot of loose ends hanging. And stuff like Vegapunk, Weevil, etc., those are important points. Those aren't things that you just throw out, I could see Oda kind of like hand-waving some stuff away and just like offhandedly mentioning something. But I don't think that Oda would just skip over something, But Tashigi, Weevil, Vegapunk, I think those are things that are all important because there's things that are coming, like Vegapunk's coming up multiple times, like just this arc. I don't think Oda's forgotten about Vegapunk. Akash Panda, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Akash Panda, thank you very much. I get the sense you're trying to ask me a question based on these, based on the way you're donating. So I'll look out for your next comment, and then you don't have to donate again. Eustace Zay says Big Mom isn't down. She can heal. I agree. She's not down. I think she might be down temporarily, or at least out of the picture temporarily. 0000 says, do you think Kid will get to fight Kaido solo when Luffy loses? And will we get a Kid backstory this arc, or an Elbaf because Shanks took his arm? I would definitely prefer Kid get like some character work done this arc, right? Get some character development, get his backstory, etc. this arc. This arc felt very important for Kid's character. I mean, like, the conflict with Kaido who is the character that first runs into Kaido? It's Kid, right? Like, Kid's vendetta with Kaido goes so far back. I mean, not that far back, I guess, but like I'm saying story-wise, right? Story-wise, like Little Pirate Games, that chapter, like Kid was the one going through all this and like suffering from Kaido before Luffy. And I think Kid suffered the most at Kaido's hand. Like him and his crew, what Kaido did to Killer. Like Kid has suffered a lot directly from Kaido. So I don't know when exactly I think Kid versus Kaido could happen. Again, if the raid fails, I think that could be a rematch later down the line. As it is right now, my guess would be no, Kid's not going to get a shot against Kaido. If we want to play pretend that this is the final battle, then maybe there's a chance, I mentioned this earlier in the stream, that like Luffy temporarily loses and Kid gets a chance to fight a bit against Kaido, gets some hits in, and then Luffy comes back and wins. But I wouldn't guess that that's what's going to happen, you know what I mean? Keenan says, Viz had people thinking Shanks and Buggy were actual blood brothers, lol. Yeah, Viz is just, I literally don't, they do it so insanely, like Viz early on, I get the sense that they didn't care about the series, or like they literally didn't care, is the sense I get, because they did not, like, just blatant things mistranslated or misinterpreted, I didn't understand. Now they care for accuracy, but like, just weirdly not for like actually writing natural dialogue, you know what I mean? Udana Uchegbu says, looking back at it, Conqueror's Haki coding doesn't seem like an advanced type and more like an application that has never been fully utilized. What do you think? So, Udana, that's like an interesting point in that, like, with the other stuff, right? We get some basic combat use right away, right? Armament. You just have armament, that's a basic combat use. Observation. You have observation, you can use it against opponents, right? Then the advanced types are like something special with it, right? So like, the 2 levels of advanced armament, right? Or future sight, right? Or maybe voice of all things if we want to go down the observation route possibilities, right? Whereas Conquerors, it's like at its base level, it seems like it has no combat application, right? For the longest time, it was not a useful combat ability. Now, what we're calling the advanced application is really its first level of being used in combat, right? So it's a little different from the others, right? So like for the others, it's like they already have some basic combat functionality, and then the advanced version is some special use of them. Whereas with armament, it's like no combat functionality, its advanced usage is combat functionality, right? The thing is that combat functionality, like once you get to that level of using it in combat, is so absurdly strong that it's just like, what more do we really, like, what do we need out of advanced version of this, right? Like, this is already pretty up there. Now, if we want to speculate, Maybe some weird forms like Ashura. You know what I mean? Like Zoro's doing Ashura and stuff. Maybe we see other characters doing things like that. Maybe that's something swordsman specific or Zoro specific. I don't know. But I think with Conquerors, Advanced Conquerors, I think maybe we could see more uses out of what we got. But I don't know if there's necessarily like a whole level up above this, right? But maybe more so like different applications of what we're already seeing. Like maybe someone using it more as a shield, someone using it with weapon, like a gun or something like that. I don't know. Is my stream getting choppy? Sorry about that. Pure Power says world government knows all major devil fruits and users. What if they talk about Otama's fruit? What if they're talking about Otama's fruit? Awakening can control all zone or maybe humans. Mind control, obedience theme, no explanation for how she got it. Yeah, there were some interesting theories going on about Otama's fruit. I remember, I think 1 or 2 streams ago, maybe 2 streams ago. People really like, sometimes I don't like, something's just not on my radar whatsoever. So like me, I did not think that Tama's fruit would be the fruit that people people think is special. And then people introduce some really good ideas, and suddenly it just starts to make way more sense. So I really like the idea that it would be Tama's fruit, because I like it because it diverts it from the possibility of it being like Luffy's fruit or one of the more expected fruits like Luffy's fruit, Momonosuke's fruit, or whatever. It diverts the possibility to Tama's fruit and gives her more relevance to the arc. I like Tama's character. Like I like Tama. Tama's, how can you dislike Tama? Tama's just Tama. But just giving her more meaning to being in the arc, or like what, like something special out of this character. And it makes sense, right? Like the devil fruit she has is really strong when you think about it. It's just I didn't really think about it for a while, right? So I like that. It's something unexpected that makes a lot of sense and is cool when you think about it. Boise Bird says the citizens still not seeing Onigashima, and Momo pushing the island back some more indicates the arc is extended. Happy Morge. I would like us to get towards Onigashima being over the Flower Capital very soon, personally, just because I think that's important for us to reach the climax of Act 3, however Act 3 closes. I think we do need to get there. So I will say I was not super happy about Momo. I was actually not super happy about Momo pulling the island further away, because I'm just like, fuck, I thought we were almost there. But Jaren Sama says, Morge, you're a major inspiration. Oh, thank you, man. That's very nice. You are a legend in the community. Thank you. I'm gonna blow up soon. Jaren D plug. I'm gonna shake up the One Piece community. BDL energy, lol. Alright. Best of luck to you, Jaren. Jordan Taylor says, Magellan is no longer the warden of Impel Down. Do you think this is because Doc Q will get his fruit? It's the one fruit that fits him best, in my opinion. Oh, Doc Q getting Magellan's fruit. I don't know. Like, here's my mentality with the Blackbeard Pirates. Unless Oda comes out with some BS of like, oh, you can actually get people's devil fruits without killing them, which I don't think is going to be the case. Let's assume that you need to kill characters to get their devil fruits. My guess would be that Oda's only going to do this to truly bad characters, right? Truly bad characters. So, like, for example, not Magellan, Absalom, right? Absalom, rapist, basically uses the invisibility fruit for, like, the worst, like, literally the worst thing you would use it for, right? Like, what Sanji would never use it. No, we're not going to get into that, all right? What Sanji would or wouldn't do, but, or has done with the raid suit. But Absalom obviously goes a step further. He's an actual, genuine rapist, right? So, Absalom, Oda seems to have offed him. That's done. Magellan was not a bad dude, mostly. I mean, no, he is actually a bad dude. Like, he's kind of the classic case of, like, prison guard with too much power that abuses the prisoners, but the prisoners are also really bad. Like, they're level 6 prisoners, but at the same time, you have guys like Jinbei in there and stuff like that, right? Like, Magellan would just, like, dump, like, life-threatening, basically, like, lethal poison on prisoners just for acting up a little bit, right? Like, if you go back and reread how he acted around a lot of the prisoners in jail cells, right? So, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to be an executioner. Magellan was a bad dude. It's just he kind of had moments where, like, he showed his faith in, like, he had a good moment where he showed his faith in Hannibal and stuff like that, so that made him more of a likable character, and at the end of the day, he is trying to keep pirates from causing a giant prison break that will fuck the entire world over. But he is also a very abusive prison guard, so, you got that aspect, right? As we know, everyone in the One Piece prisons is not necessarily a bad person, so whatever. I guess basically what I'm saying is, like, I don't know if Magellan is necessarily... I like the idea of Doku, getting that, but I don't know if Magellan is necessarily a bad enough person for Oda to kill him off, and Oda really doesn't like killing characters off, right? So to justify killing a character off and giving their devil fruit to someone, they gotta be really bad. That's why I always say if Enel ever comes back to Earth, Enel is a prime character to get fruit farmed by the Blackbeard Pirates. Because he's, like, arguably the worst person in the entire series. I think Enel has a strong argument. I give him, like, some people say Doflamingo. I say Enel is worse than Doflamingo, not by a huge amount, because Doflamingo is pretty bad. I think Enel is worse, though. Doflamingo is humanized in some ways, he's still just really, really evil overall, and, like, very, very... We don't have to go over Doflamingo, right? But Doflamingo was humanized in some small ways, right? Enel is not human. Like, Enel is genuinely, like, beyond psychopath. Like, if you go back and read Skypiea from start to finish, like, Enel is not once, ever, for a single second, a sympathetic character, a relatable character. Like, he is just insane. He's, like, kind of the closest, like, he is... I wouldn't say he's pure evil, because it's like, it's just, he literally views himself as God and everybody else as ants. So it's not even like he takes, like, he's not even, like, about torture or stuff like that. He's kind of just, like, he just finds it fun to, like, just destroy entire islands and cause genocide and stuff like that. He doesn't think anything of it. So Enel, if you want to kill one character in the series, give their fruit to a Blackbeard pirate. Enel makes so much sense because he has one of, in my opinion, still, like, top 5 strongest fruits in the entire series, right? A ridiculously powerful fruit, attached to a weak character who's not making good use of it, who is a really, really bad person, so no problem killing off that character and giving him to a character, like, in the Blackbeard Pirates that could use that fruit better. So, that's my take on it. Nicholas Sealstern says, I want to give a detailed story analysis. What list of books did you study to be good at analyzing? If possible, put the list of books by author in chat. I'm not going to do that. Sorry. I can give you some, like, recommendations for, like, different authors that you could try. So that came out really harshly. But part of the reason is just because, like, it's not so much, like, studying books necessarily. Like, this wasn't, like, a planned thing, you know what I mean? Like, I just liked, as I was growing up, I liked reading a lot. I liked watching a lot of TV and movies. I took appropriate classes through college, etc., basically. But, like, most of it was kind of just, like, learning myself, right? Like, I did a lot of ghostwriting and stuff like that and just got better at this over time. I got better as I made the One Piece channel over time, right? But, like, it depends on what you're interested in, because I could recommend, like are you want to, like, be good at analyzing, like, fantasy epics and stuff like that? Or do you want to be good at, like, do you want to just have a good breadth of literature, I suppose, and, like, kind of know what, I guess, like, classic books are, or, like, what's a good place to start? I'm not sure. I guess I would just say basically, like, just the more important thing is, like, trying to read a lot of what you enjoy and, like, trying to think while you're doing it. Like, take notes while you're doing it. Like, that's a very small thing that'll go a long way. If you just take notes. I take notes while I read One Piece. Like, that's, like, a thing, I don't do it for chapter reviews and stuff, but I'm saying, like, when I reread One Piece, I take notes on it. And those notes go into different documents that fall into different categories, and that compiles over time. That's basically it. You should read, if you want to read specific authors, I think, like, it literally depends on, like, what kind of stuff you're into. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, like, clear, like, I like Kafka's books. That's probably, like, one of my favorite authors for one end of the spectrum, but then at the same time, I also really like his Dark Materials, which is, like, a totally different genre of, like, fantasy children books, Somewhere in the middle, I like Discworld, I kind of like Dune, if you want sci-fi, Like, there's just different things for, like, what are you interested in? It's not so much what you're supposed to read, but, like, how you're supposed to think about it. Hypebeast Morgan says, I'm going to need a top 10 versatile devil fruit video. Top 10 I can do that right now. I don't think I need to do a video on it. I think I've never done, like, a top 10 type video that's done well. Top 10 most versatile devil fruits. We got Law in there. I think Big Mom is number 1 in my opinion. For most versatile. Law's in there. Doflamingo's in there. Luffy's fruit's actually in there in a way. I think I'd put Luffy's fruit in there in a way. Crocodile's fruit is honestly arguably pretty versatile. Kanjuro. Kanjuro's fruit is really, really tippy top in that category. I'm having a little trouble thinking right now of like all of the possibilities. I think Supernova's Apu's fruit maybe has potential there. We don't know like everything it can do. I'll give you that. Let's say that's the amount. We'll run with that for the moment. Kaido's fruit is actually very versatile. I forgot. Kaido's fruit is very versatile. Huge physical stats buff, flight, but also every element you can want, like fire, lightning, wind, flame clouds to carry things, like raise entire islands and stuff. Kaido's fruit is very, very versatile. You just don't think about it sometimes because it's such a physical beast. Jaren Sama says, Kid, Law, Zoro, Yuruj, Kobe, and Luffy will be top 15, end of story. Is this a fire hot take, Morge? I'd say no to Law, because Law is a support fighter, and he's not a good 1v1 fighter, and never has been. And he'll likely be dead by the end of the story. Kobe might be in the epilogue. I don't think Kobe within the time frame of One Piece itself will be, but I think Kobe in the epilogue, when you see him as an admiral and stuff, will be, in my opinion. Kid, yes. Zoro, yes. Luffy, yes. Yuruj, too hard to call. Yuruj, way too hard to call. We know nothing about Yuruj. We know nothing about how strong Snack was, In my opinion, Oda kind of put it like, Yuruj clearly fought Snack more recently than the rest of the Supernovas, because the way Brule said it, it sounded like it just happened, and Yuruj is somewhere like recovering from his wounds from Cracker, who he fought after Snack. So we know that Yuruj fought Snack like at about his current strength level. And we saw Yuruj, last we saw him was like healing in the clouds when Kaido was around, right? So we saw Yuruj at about his current strength level, so we know Yuruj's current strength level is about like a little bit below someone like Cracker, as far as we can understand. So it's not really a fair comparison to say like, well, the other Supernovas fell short in the forest, because for all we know, those were further back, right? Like Capone Beige he joined Big Mom's crew like a while back, So they've had more time to get strong. So it's hard to compare Yuruj to other Supernova. Dom says, where do you see the Germa cover story going? I don't know. Germa cover story is one of the most interesting cover stories to me. I would love to see if, like, it's so hard to say. Germa's cover story is really, really interesting right now because we don't know where it's going, but I would love to see some, like, the Blackbeard Pirates get involved if Blackbeard Pirates are going to whole cake like many have speculated from what was said in chapter 956, hinted at. Tarek says, it would be fun if Kaido's victory cry awakened his subordinates. Agree. Would further explain his insistence on zones and would fit his King of Beasts moniker. Agree. All fits. Also, there was a very similar cry. Who remembers this? So, with Big Mom, a very similar scenario. Let me paint you a picture. Very similar scenario. We have a raid going. This raid is on a banquet. Big Mom's raid. We were having it at Whole Cake Island. We're having a raid on a tea party. All right? Similar thing. Raid. Raiding a party, right? A plan is being executed. Seems like the plan is going to be pulled off. There's some hiccups here or there, but ultimately they get Mother Carmel's photo in front of Big Mom. They show it to her. Plan is executed. KX launcher is fired. Time for Big Mom to, bite the dust, right? What do we get? We get a flashback of Big Mom. Find out just what a beast she is and that she is not to be fucked with. What do we get next? Well, I guess simultaneously, essentially. A cry, a scream of rage and anger that changes the entire tide of the raid, right? Once Big Mom unleashes her, like, demonic wail, or however it was described by Capone Beige, he talked about this crazy wail, the scream that Big Mom had. Everything changed. All right, we got her flashback, we got her scream. Everything went, south for essentially the Alliance. Kaido, we've been told about this victory cry. We know we got a flashback going on. We know we've got a raid that's been going too good. Basically just took out, if this raid is to be believed, we just took out a top 4 most important villain in the entire series. The Yonko with by far the most focus and screen time. And most personal rivalry with the main character. She just lost in about 1.5 chapters. So that's what I predict happening for the raid. think Kaido's victory scream, his flashback, this will trigger a few things. Gabe C says, what's your favorite song from The Cure? I don't know what that is. Sorry. Oreo says, Oreo. So it's Oreo. Oreo said, Yamato will realize that Odin is not this infallible godly person without flaws and will choose to stay in Wano, becoming her own person. Yes, I think Yamato as well will have a character arc. A character arc means you're not the same person you were when you began, right? You've evolved as a person, right? Blue says, Law and Kid should make an MRI combined attack and Usopp will use guns this arc. Usopp using guns I don't think I personally like, just because I like the fact that it's more unique. Like, it gives him that more underdog. Like, guns is almost too badass for Usopp. You know, I like the feel more so that he's like, yeah, like, you know, how do I say it? Like, you don't become a badass just because you use guns, right? But like, it's more like, you know, it's just more Usopp-y, I guess. I don't know how to say it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Usopp's just not the type of guy to come out like with a revolver blazing or whatever. He's not Ben Beckman. He's gonna be pointing this shit at Kizaru and being like, hold it right there. Ollie, yes, thanks, appreciate it. Nighthawk says, have you seen the Dune movie? I've seen like 50% of it. I liked it. I liked the 50% I saw a lot, but not enough to keep going. Morge, you like Oreo, says Adnan. I'm not a big Oreo guy. The Pirateer says, Super Chat from Akash Panda. Akash Panda says, when Luffy unites the world against the world government, I want Spandam. How did I say Spandam? Spandam. To remember his words. Do you think you can survive with the world as your enemy? Yeah, I would love if the scene where, like, whenever Luffy rolls up to the world government again, we get some sort of throwback or parallel to Chapter 398, Declaration of War. That's still my favorite scene in the entire series. Luffy declaring war on the world government. It's overshadowed a bit by, like, you know, the Robin moment and all of that stuff, but, like, I Want to Live, that also happens in that chapter. But I just love the double-page spread of, like, Spandam's asking, like, you think you can survive with the entire world as your enemy? And there's 3 different translations that I've read of Luffy's response to Spandam's question of asking if he can survive with the world as his enemy. One is you want to bet, which I think is really badass. 2 is bring it on, which I think is cool. 2 is you want to bet, which I think is even more badass. And then 3 is I'd be happy to live with that. So I've seen 3 different translations say those different things. I think each one is more badass than the last. I'd be happy to live with that. Takes the cake because it's just so I don't give a fuck. I don't know, like but I like. It's weird. I like coming across different translations of that same scene because I'm just like, I love that scene so much. And like each way Luffy spin Luffy's dialogue in that scene, it comes across really, really cool. J Fold, thanks a lot. Love you, Morge. I appreciate you, J Fold. Cigar Verk, what's going on? Law for you is only support, but then the same goes for Kid. He couldn't have landed most of his attacks if Law wasn't there. I agree, but the difference is, Cigar, is most. He couldn't have landed most of his attacks if Law wasn't there. But Kid, the difference is that Kid showed 1v1 ability. Law actually showed 0 1v1 ability over the course of this fight, because it was all through sneak attacks, right? Which is not 1v1 ability. So, it all required the opponent to be distracted. Kid had 2 moments this fight where he did take on Big Mom head on, right? And he did get the better for any given interaction. Could Kid take Big Mom on head on 1v1 for a full fight? No, of course, obviously not. I'm just saying that Kid actually had moments that showcased him being capable of briefly doing something, you know, winning an interaction with a top tier briefly in a small way, you know, 1v1, right? So initially he comes in, he straight up blocks Big Mom's attack with her sword, slams her to the ground. Very, 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 very few characters that we've ever seen just straight up block a Yonko's attack. If I want to, besides Yonko doing it to each other, right, we have Akainu blocking Whitebeard at Marineford. That's an example. We have Luffy stopping Kaido's attack, right? We have Kid stopping Big Mom's attack. Besides that, it's like pretty much it's a short list. Oh, Yamato did as well. Yamato did as well when she had locked advanced armament haki. So it's a very, very short list. So Kid did that. And then obviously the assign moment from 1039. Like the assign moment is the most impressive 1v1 moment either Kid or Law had from that entire fight, which is just objectively factually true. Law had no 1v1 moments. Kid had that and stopping Big Mom's sword early on with Punk Gibson. That's pretty much it. And I think the assigned moment was more impressive. So, yeah, I mean, like, both of them mostly played support to each other. Like, both of them, showed off support stuff, but I'm just saying, like, factually, Law had no 1v1 moments. That's just true. You can't extrapolate anything about Law 1v1 from this fight. Kid, you can, because you can point to two scenes and be like, oh, he can do stuff. Genzo says, what are the chances that BB is on Zunisha right now? Whoa, no, I don't think Blackbeard is on Zunisha. That'd be insane, but that's a cool idea. That'd be absolutely insane. Blackbeard just on Zunisha. That I can't even imagine that. What would that entail? Udona Achegbu says, how else do you think hockey can be expanded upon? Really did say that he'll show Luffy the basics, and this did include him alluding to the advanced types. Or is there not much else left with? When Rayleigh first told Luffy that, like, I'm teaching you just the basics or whatever, I was a little disappointed just because, I don't know, I kind of, like, tried to wave that away just because, like, you wanted the feeling that Luffy was coming out of the time skip, like, just as this hockey monster, right? And he's showing all the stuff. He's showing black coating. He's showing, like, observation, he's dodging shit, right? Like, so I just wanted to, and like, he's using Conqueror's hockey so freely. I just wanted to feel like he's got it all down and he's just like this hockey genius. But then as we got further in the New World, I'm like, I see what you're going with for Oda. Like, there's more levels that you have to learn that you can only learn through combat and experience. So, how much do I think hockey can be expanded upon? I think that we're probably getting towards the top of what you can do with hockey. But I think, like, whoever can show, like, the final uses of advanced conquerors and stuff, it'll probably be Shanks. I think it'll probably be Shanks overall who shows us the final uses. But overall, I think we're getting close to the peak of it. I wouldn't be surprised if Mihawk has something in his bag similar to Ashura, like might be swordsmanship specific type stuff where you create a sword type aura around yourself. Might be wrong on that. All right. Jaren Sama says, appreciate the answer. I'm going to make a hot take videos when I start my channel. Your content's amazing. Keep grinding. We're going to collab one day. All right, Jaren, I'll look out for you. I'll look out for you, man. Keenan says, do you think Oda will ever draw the climaxes of fights like Aokiji versus Kainu or the Payback War? Or are they going to be like Shanks intercepting Kaido where Oda just leaves it that thing happen? My opinion is that it's only going to be if something important actually happened at the end of those. So, for example, let's say we find out retroactively that, like, Akainu now unleashed, or he took that step of attaining something like, let's say, crazy hypothetical, right? Akainu, over the course of the Aokiji fight, he had a Haki bloom. Maybe he attained advanced Conqueror's Haki or something, right? Then I think maybe we go back and get to see that moment of Akainu getting that. Maybe. But if nothing truly important happened, right? Like, I don't think Oda would go back just to show the fight visually and give us that fan service. You know what I mean? Like, it's more so like if there's an important reveal during the fight, in my opinion. Kaido and Shanks, as far as we know, they didn't necessarily fight because Kaido mentioned something to Luffy like, oh, I haven't had a serious fight like this in a while, right? And Shanks, as strong as he is, I don't think he can, like, fight Kaido, turn Kaido away, and then get to Marineford all in, like, a really fast span with no injuries. Like, no matter how strong you think Shanks is, like, I doubt he's, like, that much stronger than Kaido. Otherwise, Kaido would speak about him, like, in a certain way. So, like, whatever happened with Shanks and Kaido wasn't a true fight, most likely. So I think we might get to see that because that might be, like, an important moment between the two where something was revealed. Mohammed Isse says, after events on Wano, does this put the Straw Hats as perhaps the most versatile and balanced crew, maybe only second to the Red-Haired Pirates? I would think so. The Straw Hats are insane. Like, Zoro and Sanji, with their power-ups right now, just legitimately had very little, not a lot of trouble. Once they got their power-ups, I'm not saying the fights were easy. I'm saying once they got their power-ups, yes, those fights were not difficult for them, right? Like, if Zoro had advanced Conqueror's Haki from the start, he would not have had that much trouble with King. Same with Sanji, right? Sanji had his augments from the start. You can get all the way down to the bottom tier of the Straw Hats, and you're, like, looking at Nami and shit, who can throw attacks like Zeus, which is in itself, like, representative of one of Yonko's strongest attacks, right? And it's homing. So, like, they're just insane from top to bottom. Like, you had Jinbei fucking up Who's Who easily. Like, the Strats are just insane. Surreal Soviet says, any predictions for Robin's story during the rest of Wano, considering both the Yonko and world government specifically mentioned wanting to capture her? I have some prediction. How do I say this? Like, I can spew out some predictions on Robin stuff, but I have literally nothing concrete. I like to think that it will make for a good moment for Brooke. That's all I've got. I think Robin, if she is captured, it goes to either world government or Big Mom. But, like, I prefer to think that this is set up for a good moment for Brooke to defend her from one of those forces or save her from one of those forces. Oh, man. Grizzly Adam says, Sanji saying, I guess it was too spicy for you as you walked away from Jabra is the coldest line in the series. I disagree. I thought that the line that he said to Queen after he finished his fight was even cooler. I guarantee literally nobody can remember what Sanji said to Queen after he finished his fight. I'm with you. I think that actually I would put that as second because I think that Sanji's entry line to the Jabra fight was even cooler, which is that he's the hunter. I really like that line. I thought that was really cool. Jordan Allen says, RE earlier pessimism. I know Oda will cover Weevil and Vegapunk. Just so much to cover and not much breathing room at this pace if we only have 5 years left. Here's hoping. Anyway, you're by far the best One Piece YouTuber. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. There is a lot to cover. It's just that I think that the 5-year... I mean, this is my opinion. I don't think that I just don't give any credit to the 5-year thing. He said that 2 years ago. I swear he said that shit like 2 years ago. So I'm just, I think that the things that Oda thinks are important, he will make time for, That's my take on it. Like, it might be other things that kind of get scraped to the side, but I think things that Oda thinks are important, like a Weevil, like a Vegapunk, I think those will be important. Gary Bloodworth says, you sleeping on La 1v1. Hawkins, W. Smoker, W. Virgo, W. Yeah, no, those are all... I agree. Hawkins, Law beat all those people. It's when I see people being like, yeah, Law's like an admiral level or something. I'm like, wait, what? Beating Hawkins, Smoker, and Virgo is not impressive. The last we saw him 1v1 was Doflamingo. I think Law would do better now against Doflamingo because he has K-Room. But besides K-Room, like, he hasn't actually improved as far as we can tell anything in terms of, like, hockey or actually fighting ability or, like, what he can do armament. Like, everything the thing he's improved is, like, hey, if I can get a good opening, I have a stronger attack now. But he still has to, like, actually outfight the opponent. Like, yeah, Hawkins, Smoker, Virgo, those are nice wins. That's, like, those are some nice wins for, a mid-high tier character. Weekly Shonen Punch says, you do realize Law fought Big Mom 1v1 while Kid was incapacitated by Hawkins. You can't overlook that. Off screen and literally Big Mom was focused on Kid. Go back and reread that. Big Mom is literally attacking Kid while Law is running up behind her and attacking her with a gamma knife. That's actually what's happening during that scene. That means nothing. Yes, I can't overlook that. It doesn't mean anything. There's not a single point in the fight where Big Mom is actually looking at Law and doing something, or Law is having to counter something that she's doing. So even while Kid was getting fucked up by Hawkins, Big Mom was still just going at Kid, and Law was still running up behind her and trying to hit her with gamma knife. I'm not gonna give Law off-screen credit for things he hypothetically could have done when everything off-screen implies it was the opposite. Rakib Yusuf says Law has definitely gotten stronger. Yeah, I mean, I think he's gotten stronger in that he has K-Room now. But there's no evidence for anything in terms of his 1v1 ability having gone up. It's just not a thing. You need to you can't just say they got stronger. You need to provide some evidence for that, For example, simple example, all right? I remember with Sanji, right? Before Sanji got his augments, right? A lot of people were saying that before Sanji got his Germa enhancements, right? A lot of people were saying, oh, Sanji should be able to beat Queen now because it's been a while since Dressrosa, so Sanji's gotten stronger, right? It was based on nothing. People were just yeah, he lost to Doflamingo before, but maybe he could beat Queen now because let's just pretend he got stronger. Newsflash, turns out that it doesn't just work like Sanji was still getting fucked up by Queen exactly like most people expected him to because There was nothing so far in the story to indicate he'd gotten stronger from Dressrosa. I'm not counting the raid suit because he didn't have the raid suit on, right? There's nothing to suggest this is a whole new Sanji from Dressrosa. Sanji had to get a power-up to indicate that his 1v1 fighting ability had gone up, and then he was able to take Queen. But before that, it's like, no, Sanji's like, this seems like the same Sanji that got fucked up by Doflamingo. Law, same thing. Show me something that suggests that as a 1v1 fighter, Law is improved. Ally says, Big Mom ally with Luffy because of Sanji, cake, and sad history. I don't know if Big Mom's in the mood for an alliance nowadays, dude. Like, with Luffy. I don't know about that. Last I saw, she's fucking pissed as fuck at the worst generation and not happy at all. I just don't think an alliance is in the work. I think she is a character that is destined to go down. Lemon Pea says, is Law fighting Big Mom while Kid was out not 1v1 moment, plus he's defended and taken attacks from Kaido. Being an elusive fighter doesn't make him support. What I'm saying is, okay, again, I already addressed the moment when Kid was not out, right? Big Mom, from what we saw, is literally still just beating up on Kid, and that's what she's doing. We have no evidence for Law doing anything whatsoever. As far as we know, like, is he even doing damage to her? Is he even, like, getting... What's he doing? Is he just running away? Who knows? He's defended and taken attacks from Kaido. Being an elusive fighter doesn't make him support. He's defended and taken... I think his durability's gone up. That's about it, though. Like, what else do you... Like, what... Like... To me, it's just like, point me to a page. Point me to a panel and be like, look, this shows Law could fight an admiral or something like that. Like, that's not a sneak attack. Just show that. Like, this shows Law would fuck up Doflamingo now. Balsam Fear says, do you think Law will make someone immortal at some point? Yeah, I think that's a Chekhov's gun. I think that definitely has to happen. It actually comes up in the video after tomorrow. If I'm pissing people off about Law now, I think people will be really pissed tomorrow. Although I think I'm actually very generous to Law in tomorrow's video. No, I'm not. It's whatever. Gabe C says, what's your favorite Tool song? Favorite Tool song? I don't remember ones off the top of my head now. I like that Angels in the Sidelines. That song. I don't remember their names off the top of my head. If you let me pull up let me pull up an album. I think my favorite album was Lateralis. I didn't like the new one. I didn't like Fear Inoculum, even though that's the one that everyone... 10,000 Days was my favorite album. Alright, let me look at 10,000 Days songs. I don't know how many I'm going to recognize, because I didn't, listen to them again after I did my deal. They're not, my cup of tea to, listen to. Oh, Wings for Mary's really good. Both Wings for Mary. And there's also a song that's just Lipe and Conjuring, which isn't really a song. It's just it's just weird sound effects and shit. I actually really like that. I like their weird sound effects shit that they do in the middle. I like Wings for Mary, both of them. John B's cool. But I don't love Tool. I just respect the music more. You know what I mean? Trey Bird says CP0 would make easy work out of Brook. At best, he stalls them. Yeah. I don't think Brook beats somebody that two characters that could individually take out X Drake and potentially Apu. And some numbers for change. I don't know exactly what Brook can do, but I like to think he'll get something. Billy Bob says more Zolo agenda is showing. You cannot compare Law to Zoro right now. There's as a 1v1 fight, it makes no sense. Law's literally not written like that. I think Law's just a popular character and people think he's cool, so therefore and he's got a cool ability and a very powerful ability when he's able to hit with it, much like Sugar, much like Perona, much like Nami. But he's not written as a fighter. He's a schemer first and foremost. He gets his hits in those ways. That's how he fights. He's a competent fighter, but he's not written as a fighter. Ninerbot says, how come Law didn't pull these moves out against Doflamingo? Man just laid there crying and said, nah, Luffy's got it. Because he couldn't. Because that's how strong he is. That's just what he is. Matthew Fowler. Thanks. Appreciate it. Law's abilities are definitely cool. I'm not trying to downplay Law's abilities. Law's abilities are dope. Now imagine if he was a good fighter attached to it. It would be insane. Like, Oda has to nerf Law as a fighter because his abilities are too good. Like, if you had Law, like, being a hockey beast and having, like, amazing future sight or some shit, it'd just be broken. Advanced Conquerors, like, if you added that all into his artillery, like, Law would be nuts. Imagine if he's actually a good swordsman, like Zoro. He'd be insane. It's a good thing Law's just this kind of clumsy dude who waves his sword around and manages to get in some sneak attacks, right? Otherwise he'd be broken, huh? It's a good thing that's how Oda wrote him, huh? Gaming Cav says, Morge, your takes have dropped big time, man. It comes across as though you're being controversial just for the sake of being so. I'm just having fun on stream, man. I'm just having fun on stream. It's like, it's not like I'm doing a serious scripted out video here or whatever. I will say that my actual take on it is that, look, here's my actual take on it. It is that basically, like, yeah, Law is likely stronger than I'm giving him credit for right here. I am joking a little bit just because I see how far the other extreme has gone, where I see people saying Law can take an admiral or some ridiculous shit. But it is also factually true that Law did not have any 1v1 feats or moments against Big Mom, and he really has not had anything that shows him as a 1v1 fighter capable of doing anything to a Yonko ever, right? Like, everything that he's gotten against Big Mom is through sneak attacks. That's factually true. And Kid is not written in that way, and that is also factually true. Like, those are just factually true things. Like, you cannot find panels or pages of Law doing things to Big Mom 1v1, right? So he is objectively, factually not written in that way. And yeah, maybe it's unfair for me to be like, oh, he's a support fighter or whatever, right? But it's even lampshaded in the series with Law being like, hey, I'm not your support. It's one of those things where, like, if a character's having to protest, like, hey, I'm not just this support figure, it is lampshading the fact that, like, oh, they are kind of playing that role in a degree, right? So, I mean, the reality is that Law, last we saw of him as a 1v1 fighter, was against Doflamingo, which he didn't fare too well. He would probably do better now because he has Kerum, and maybe he could land Kerum. If he lands Kerum on Doflamingo, he probably wins, but at the same time, he has to land it. And so far, he has never shown that he can actually do stuff like that 1v1, not a sneak attack against strong characters. So that's just the truth. So I would say Law's actual strength, no idea where to put him. He's one of those characters that he needs some feats, 1v1, not sneak attacks, not in support roles, basically. And until he gets those, there's no reason to put him there. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's just bias showing if you're basically like, let's just say Law's just really strong because he is. It's like, okay, where are the pages that support that he could actually fight somebody that's strong 1v1? They don't exist. That's all I'm saying. Ishnavin says, getting in a quick message here in the middle of my Japanese class. Oh, look at Ishnavin. Law's awakening gives new meaning to the phrase, the long arm of the law. That's actually really funny. Keep up the good content, Morge. Thanks. Appreciate it. Jay Wall says, I'm annoyed that in a fight so serious, there's fodder on the sidelines commenting. Yeah, we can't really... I won't say shit on that. It's, I'll leave that alone. It depends on how you feel about it. Jay Wally... No, we covered that. Sorry, I don't know why I was reading that again. The demon says, there's no way who's done. There's no way who's done? Out of all characters, you're specifically talking about him? Before he fought Jinbei said that he saw his face, he would recognize him. And isn't CP0 supposed to kill him? Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Like, there's more for him in the story. I get you. I would agree, but I think there's more for all of these characters in the story. All of these Tobiropo. The Pirate here says, Law's durability increase in Wano tanking Kaido's hits that one-shot post Whole Cake Island Luffy got me. Flummox, lol, he must have hit the weights after Dressrosa. Yeah, I mean, that's... Dude, Oda's always been inconsistent. Durability is the thing that Oda's been most inconsistent with historically, so I don't put much stock in that. Like, historically, it's kind of just like, if Oda says a character's done after this, then they're done after this. If not, then it's not, right? Like, shouts to Zoro getting taken out by, like, Kamazo's scythe and Q, endless arguments, like Kamazo, like basically a flesh wound for Zoro standards, right? And then endless arguments about, like, if you read this sound effect, it says gurgle, which means Zoro was hungry this entire time. And then some people being like, guys, I think I read somewhere that Kamazo's swords are poisoned, so it was the poison that took Zoro out and shit. So it's just like, and then now you get to this arc where Zoro's taking, like, damage from Kaido, from King, the double up damage from from the serum and stuff like that, like the minx medicine and everything, and it's just like, guess Kamaza's scythe was stronger than all of those things, or what? Like, Oda's just inconsistent with his durability. It's whatever he wants it to be. I don't know, I was trying to sound it out. YRM Ema says, thoughts on Kid versus Zoro? I got Kid unless he got some crazy stuff from this Grim Reaper. I'll give it to Kid. Just because it's Kid's role in this, like, Kid's, he's supposed to be Luffy's rival. I'll give it to Kid. GK says, how do Kid and Law justify their weak-ass crews? Kid has killer. Kid has killer. I agree that Kid's crew is not that strong relatively, but Kid has killer. So I don't know. Yeah, it was a tummy ache. Killer is surprisingly strong. I think a lot of people didn't think that Killer could keep up with Zoro, and Killer kind of did on the roof. Like, he got damage in on Kaido before Zoro. Obviously, Zoro got his advanced Conqueror's Haki and stuff afterwards, but I don't think Killer was unimpressed. Killer impressed me more than I expected, right? I'd say Kid impressed me slightly less than I expected overall. If Kid's attacks were cooler, I think people would view him differently. You know what I mean? A lot of it comes down to how cool your moveset is. And Kid's attacks are just not... Obviously, cool is subjective, but, like, it's not... I don't know. It's just not... Maybe not my thing, I guess, and maybe for a lot of people, not necessarily, right? Weekly Shonen Punch says, Kid is a frontal fighter, but without Ryo or Haki, he would be ineffective without Law's opening. Also, how do you sneak someone who knows you're there? Let me say this, okay? Law contributed more in the Big Mom fight. I want to be very clear. Law contributed more in the Big Mom fight. I think that's true, in my opinion. I think Law did more damage overall, right? I'm saying who showed off more 1v1 ability. I'm not saying Kid contributed more. I don't think that's true. I think Law contributed more. I'm saying who showed more 1v1 ability. And I'm honestly just saying, like, you cannot argue Law showed more 1v1 ability because he literally didn't. There are no examples of it. Kid had two moments where he showed 1v1 ability against a Yonko. 2 interactions where he got the better of a Yonko, albeit very brief, but those 2 moments exist. Therefore, I view Kid as a better 1v1 fighter than Law because Law has no evidence for him whatsoever. Now, that being said, both of them mostly got most of their damage in while Big Mom was distracted, right? By the other person or something, right? Both of them mostly did that. And overall, Law did more damage output. So that's all. It's 2 different discussions. Okay? Overall in the fight, neither of them can take a Yonko on 1v1. Both of them require mostly sneak attacks to damage Big Mom. When they can both get their damage in, Law's damage seemed more effective to me. All right? Seemed more effective to me. Okay? Now, separate discussion, which is, okay, who showed more moments that, they could tangle with Big Mom 1v1 for a moment? Kid did, Law didn't. That's also true. It's 2 separate discussions. All right? 2 separate discussions. Both things can be true. All right? I think that the Kid Law stuff, I wonder if it's going to be the new Zoro Sanji. I really do. Matthew Fowler says, hey, I didn't ask my question in earlier. Do you think Oda will finish before 1300? Keep up great work. Easily best OP content on YouTube. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I think One Piece will end around 1300. Reason being around chapter 650, I think 653, while they're living Fishman Island, Luffy it's kind of implied by the way they're talking that, like, now the second half of the story starts. Because Fishman Island, it takes place between the Grand Line and the New World. Yes, it's in the post-time skip, but, like, it's kind of treated as, like, an intermission. Like, it literally happens. Fishman Island literally takes place in a bubble, right? With no sort of outside interference or anything like that. And it's mostly an exposition arc, right? The enemy, the conflict, very tame, very simple. It's mainly an arc to, like, let you know the state of the world, help you understand what the world is like, help you understand how the world has changed. It's kind of like an establishing arc and, like, kind of like, checking some things off. And then 653 is when it really sounds like, okay, now the second half of our story begins, right? When they're actually heading down to Fishman Island, yeah, it's like, okay, off to start off our adventure again, but the rise back up into the new world, that's kind of like the launch of the second half of the story. Imagine it's kind of like if they went up Reverse Mountain, so the Grand Line section of the story is about to start, but they stayed on Reverse Mountain for like 50 chapters and just waited there before going down, right? That's kind of Fishman Island. So I take it as, obviously 600 is like the time skip, right? 597 actually, but 600 is the time skip basically. I take it slightly more as like 650 is the start of the second half of the series. I don't view it that, I treat Fishman Island mentally as an intermission, essentially, and then like 650 onwards, and I've grown to appreciate the arc more looking at it through that lens. 650 onward is when like the new world adventure really begins. So I think 1300 might be a good point for the story to end. It also makes sense, kind of just like you can kind of think some things like, I'm not going to get into it, but it does kind of chart out, I think, well with like arc estimates and stuff that we got around the corner. Paper says narrative should be used to power scale, not feats. I mean, I kind of agree, because it's like, hey, are we going to say Dragon sucks because he has no feats? Yeah, I agree. But to me, narrative has also shown that Law is not that strong. Like, last time the narrative showed me was Law and Doflamingo. If you're saying that, well, Law is being portrayed on par with like Luffy and Kid and stuff, I would say Law was being portrayed on par with Luffy back in Dressrosa, and we know that he was not actually on par with Luffy in any shape, any way, shape, or form. So just because Oda's doing something symbolically, like Killer's also there lined up on the roof with them and stuff like that, like, I'm not just going to be like, you know what, Law didn't show any 1v1 stuff, fuck it, let's still just put him up there. Doesn't make sense to me. Oblong Polecat says, any theories on Toki's time travel fruit after she died? Is it in Wano now? Toki is the biggest question mark, not the biggest question mark, but a question mark in Wano. Definitely a question mark in Wano. Oh shit. I don't have any theories on the Toki time travel fruit. I think that that's one of the more interesting missing ends, loose ends or whatever, in Wano at the moment. I mean, there's so many that you can count, though. I'm still waiting on Nidai Kitetsu to play a role. Still waiting on like that dude that was drinking with Crocus. There's like lots of things. Wano being a land of gold. I don't have a good theory on that, though. Pirate Hero says, from Sean Easton, thanks, man. Would Big Mom's awakening be turning stolen life into her own? Seems like a move that would move her from almost beaten to, oh no, oh no, oh no. I don't know, man. We never saw Big Mom's awakening. I see some people say that, like, oh, she was probably already using her awakening already, but it's like, Oda's never done that. Oda always makes a point of, like, awakenings. He likes having villains show off their awakenings, right? Like, he's not just like, oh, you know, this character, they were using their awakening this entire time. It's like, no, you make a show out of it because it's cooler. Like, that doesn't really make sense to me. Oh, fuck. It looks like I Jesus Christ, what have I done? I started Kid versus Zoro. I didn't even know that would be that controversial. I'm just like, Kid versus Zoro. That's a case where narrative over powers, like, over feats, you know, that makes sense to me. I'm kind of giving it to Kid for the narrative. But Law, I don't think you can fit into that argument because it's just like, Law's not really a rival to Luffy. He's like a rival in the loosest sense, you know? Like, he's not an actual rival to Luffy in any sense. Super chat from Ali S. Thanks, Phantom Greyfire. Big Mom has a sad history and will ally with Luffy, especially when she finds out about Sanji making that cake. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't think Luffy likes her. I think Luffy really, really strongly, personally dislikes Big Mom. They both have a strong grudge against each other. I don't see that happening. We had bad characters like Crocodile become Luffy's allies before. Also, Elbaf is next. Yeah, but that was circumstantial. That was like, we have to get out of Impel Down. And Luffy still really did not fuck with Crocodile. As soon as they got out of the Impel Down situation and into Marineford, as soon as that happened, the first thing that Luffy did was stop Crocodile for, like, the first person Luffy fought or skirmished with in Marineford was Crocodile, because Luffy knew Crocodile was up to no good, and he immediately went and stopped Crocodile from attacking Whitebeard. That was literally the first thing Luffy did. So that was like a circle. Like we're stuck in fucking Impel Down. We're literally stuck in hell. Impel Down is essentially hell. It's like because we are in hell. Yes, I will team up with you to get out of here to save my brother. Luffy and Big Mom, like they're never gonna be in a situation like that as far as we can tell, right? Like there's not gonna be a situation where they're like, we're literally stuck in this doomsday scenario, so let's momentarily, temporarily like work together or something. Um, like just shaking hands for a long-term deal or contract or alliance with Big Mom, like drinking father-son sake cups. I just don't see that sort of thing. That's my take on it. John Ross says, I think Law was transferring seismic activity from deep in the earth into Big Mom's body, hence it has to go deeper line. Is that in line with Law's ability? Seismic quakes? I don't know, dude. I thought it meant like it has to go deeper in Big Mom, just because like the bigger the sword is, the more powerful the resulting attack is. That was my take on it. GK says Luffy has a broken Yonko crew. Law has Beppo. Yeah, I don't see Law as a threat to Luffy's crew in any sense. Law is not a rival to Luffy. I see Electro Yellow saying Kid low defeat Luffy, which is a rare take. Guys, I have to do something right now, which is actually very important, which is I have to look up a DoorDash order. I told you guys before that. Never mind. Doesn't make sense. What was I saying? Yeah, I gotta do a DoorDash order just because that's the plan. Nowadays, I'm gonna eat dinner after streams. Phantom Greyfire says, Super Chat from Udona Echegbu says, Hey Morge, have you ever watched the video The Politics of Star Wars? It does well to recontextualize the prequels and actually makes them brilliant. Here's what I'm gonna do. So, Star Wars recontextualizing the prequels. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna answer that, I'm gonna order my DoorDash. I have not watched The Politics of Star Wars, but at the same time, the prequels. Look, I believe that the ideas behind the prequels were very good. I thought that the prequels had like a lot of really interesting ideas, but I think that a lot of it just came down to straight up like, how do I say this? Just straight up like down to like really shitty like dialogue writing or small decisions. You know what I mean? Like just small little things that like across the board just made it like really, really awkward storytelling and like kind of lifeless in like a lot of ways. I think that I could definitely watch like an analysis that would break down more of the ideas behind it and explain why they're good. But I think that there's almost nothing that I could watch that would convince me that like the that sand is coarse and dry and it gets everywhere is like good writing. You know what I mean? Like the flaws of the prequel trilogy I don't think are like the ideas or like the themes or the concepts behind it. Like the flaws of the prequel trilogies are kind of just like the fucking prequel trilogies. You know what they are. There's literally stuff that's uh, like you remember when it's like, like Anakin, you're breaking my heart. Like, there's so much shit that I'm just like, you can't. There's no analysis video that's gonna fix this aspect of it. I will say that the prequels are infinitely better than the sequels. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because neither of those trilogies are canon, and there's only one canon like Star Wars trilogy. There's only one canon part of Star Wars, which is the actual original trilogy. Sorry, 1 second. You guys have no idea how far behind the stream is for me. Cause like I watched myself just now returning from the bathroom in the video screen. Power Ranger says, is Kid/Law doing the same thing to Akainu? No. Because I think Akainu's fruit is particularly brutal. Let me put it this way, right? So you remember how Luffy saved Ace from the execution platform, right? How Luffy saved Ace from the execution platform? And how did he do it? Well, Sengoku was up there, but like Luffy still survived Sengoku just fine. Now, I think Sengoku was plenty strong, right? I think that Akainu and Sengoku, if you ask me who would win in a fight back then, Akainu or Sengoku, I think that you could make an argument for either. But I know that if Akainu was on that platform, Luffy would be dead right away, right? I mean, we pretty much saw that same shit happen a little while later when Akainu was in front of Luffy and Ace, right? We saw exactly what happened. Sorry, I'm ordering DoorDash. But that's kind of just like a difference in kind of like how the characters act and their abilities. Like, if you put Akainu on that execution platform instead of Sengoku, Luffy dies right there. Same way I think that, like, just the nature of Akainu's abilities, yeah, he would defeat Kid and Law. Not necessarily because... I don't know if Akainu's stronger than Big Mom. I don't know. But I'm saying that, like, because of the nature of his abilities, which are just less forgiving in general, I don't think, Kid would get to have that luxury of, no, what? No. What? Okay, no, it's fine. It's fine. Guys, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You guys were panicking. No. What? Oh, no. What? Why is the next delivery... How's the next delivery... How is the next delivery... I can't say delivery. I did say just then. How is the next time available in 2 days? This doesn't even make sense. Are they not... Do they not have it open right now? What is this? Guys, something has gone very wrong. Am I gonna starve today? What the hell is this? Okay. What do I do now? You guys have ruined my dinner. I hope you are okay with that. All right. Backup plan. I'm ordering sushi. I was going to order sweet green, which is a very healthy sort of a meal for a healthy sort of a person, such as myself. Let me try one more time. Maybe it was a mess up on... Fuck, how did this happen? Who is doing this? How's this possible? All right, I'm ordering sushi. Guys, is sushi healthy? Can someone tell me is sushi healthy? Someone tell me. Is sushi healthy? I need to know, and not as a joke. I'm trying to eat healthy. Let's see. The thing I was going to eat was like 545 calories. How many calories is sushi? More experiencing Sanji's backstory? Yeah, I think maybe it's too late. Like, maybe I just ordered it too late. Let me answer some of these super chats. Yeah, I just think that like Kid wouldn't have the luxury to be like getting fucked up by Hawkins in the background for like a while when Akainu's around. You know what I mean? Because like Akainu took off like he could like put holes in Whitebeard and take off like half of Whitebeard's face. Like he's just doesn't have a very forgiving Devil Fruit ability exactly. Aslan says reread the Onigashima battle from start to finish around 983, and Oda's paneling needs work. Feels very cluttered at times and a chore to read. I have not yet read Onigashima. I've read Act 1 and Act 2 of Wano, though, actually. But I've reread sections of Onigashima. I'll just say this, that, like, Onigashima has pages, because I don't want to just, like, spin this the wrong way. I think Onigashima has pages that are really, 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 really well drawn. I love, like, and really, really well, like, really, really powerful, impactful paneling. I would say, like, the chapter that Luffy came back and split the sky with Kaido, especially that little section of him splitting the sky, the sky splitting, Inuarashi Nekomamushi, their moments like paralleled on either side. I thought that stuff was great. I think that the moments that are really, really, really well done in Onigashima are those really, really stand out. The pages that are really, really well paneled. But I do agree that a lot of Onigashima is somewhat cluttered and somewhat crammed. I don't know how controversial that take is, but first of all, I think like reading old One Piece, like pre-time skip, the chapters are just like the artwork page to page is just better. It's just more clear, more detailed. It's like very like it's just aesthetically pleasing to read, right? Post time skip, especially the further we've gone post time skip, I think Whole Cake suffered less from this, but especially Wano, it's clear that Oda's got to go for more quantity over quality with how much he's trying to fit into the panels, right? That's just the case. Now, Oda's overall artwork ability has still increased, so like the times that he gets to try like really good double spreads, or like that page that I mentioned, where he gets the space or is ready to devote the space to panels, I think it's better than it was pre-time skip. But I'm saying average, chapter to chapter, page to page, it's significantly worse. It's just more cluttered. It's more like it's just more crammed. Like the artwork and everything, like you can compare it to pre-time skip like 1-to-1. It's just not. It's not as good. But I think that's like that's a sacrifice that I don't necessarily have a problem with personally, because it's like I'm cool with Oda giving us more story over time, and I think that the artwork when he tries is still really good. But I do think Onigashima does push it at points, Super Chat says, from Weekly Shonen Punch, lighter question. If Kid and Law 1v1, whose Devil Fruit would win out? Law's Room or Kid's Magnetism? Something I go back and forth in my head. Whose Devil Fruit would win out? I don't really know how to imagine that interaction. I think Law's Fruit is stronger. I think Law's Fruit is stronger overall. People saying cooking with Morge. Cooking with Morge. I don't think me doing a cooking stream would just be embarrassing. It would be very, very embarrassing. I don't want to do that. I'm sorry about that, but me cooking on stream is just it's not gonna look good. Not gonna look good. Jordan Taylor says Zoro kisses Kaido is back. 9916 says, just wished he had 20 to 23 pages to work with instead of 17. Yeah, perfect world. Perfect world, maybe he gets that, but like, we have what we have. Sean Easton says, to stall Kaido after Luffy fails, Zoro puckers up, ZKK. Okay, is this a hot, like, it's so frustrating because here's my real take, which is just that, like, I wish, imagine this. Who would like this? This is an interesting idea. Who would like this? If Oda, because Oda, great art style, we love his art style, right? Like, he is not the most technically proficient artist out there, partly because he's a weekly manga writer, right? Like, I know I've seen sketches of him, like, when he actually gets time to work on a drawing, right? And of course, there's tons of double page spreads in One Piece that are amazing. His style, love it, right? Love it. Very, very unique style, and having unique style is better than being very technically proficient. However, I think we all know that Oda's style of drawing is replicable, right? More replicable than, let's say, like the Vagabond author's style of drawing, right? So Oda's style of drawing very distinct, but his style of drawing is very replicable. So imagine the universe where Oda decides that he would will put all his time into purely the writing of One Piece and letting somebody else draw it, right? Same art style, because you can copy Oda's art style, right? It's not the hardest thing to copy. What do you guys think about that? So now imagine we get a chapter every week, so no more break weeks. Chapter every week, no more break weeks. And imagine that One Piece is just X% better because Oda gets to just focus entirely on planning and writing and stuff like that. And wait, let's make this a little juicier. Okay, let's make it a little juicier. And each week we get 30 pages instead of 20 pages. Imagine it's just magically not in Shonen Jump changed the rules or something, okay? 30 pages every week instead of 20 pages a week and no break weeks. And the story gets marginally just slightly better. I don't know if we can imagine how much better it would be writing wise if Oda got to spend all of his time in writing, because we already love Oda's storytelling as is. But at the very least, imagine 30 pages a week, no break weeks, and imagine that the art actually gets less cluttered and maybe a little cleaned up, and it's actually the best it can be just because somebody else is drawing it. Imagine that. Would you guys like that, or do you want the purity of Oda writing and drawing? I know that assistants draw the backgrounds, but we know that Oda still does the bulk of the drawing for the characters. Edward Roman says, Morge, steak, eggs, dairy are optimal for human performance plus exercise. Seed oils and salads are not. I eat eggs and dairy I don't know if you're saying this as a joke, but I eat eggs and dairy. Eggs and dairy. I eat eggs every day. I have oatmeal with milk every day. I eat a yogurt. I got my dairy down. Steak I don't eat every day, but on weekends I'll eat burgers and stuff. I try not to eat that during the week. Seed oils and salads are not. I don't know if you're joking. This sounds like the opposite. I think you're trying to trick me. Awful Meta says, if Zoro uses armament on his swords, would Kid still be able to use his devil fruit to magnetically attract them? That's the $1 million question, huh? We don't really know. We know that Kid did not take Big Mom's sword, but we know that, I see a purity for me from Chaos Lear Len, prefers as purity. Gomu Gomu Yes says, would be better. Chris Wamana says, what's the downside here? Downside is none from a practical standpoint. It's more the purity of having Oda do everything. Some people like that. Here's the thing. Plot twist. Oda can already do this. This world that I just painted a picture of for you, it already is possible. It's not some out there fantasy. Oda has said that he refuses to stop drawing. Oda has said that even though he could hand off the drawing to other assistants, and he already has assistants who do the backgrounds, he refuses to ever hand off the drawing completely because he says at that point then he'd have no fun doing One Piece, so what would be the point of it, right? So I'm just fuck, man. I respect the shit out of you, Oda, and you're the biggest the creative mind that I worship the most, but I hate that mentality because I don't care about your fun. I just want content for me. And that's the selfish truth of it. I wish you would stop drawing and just let your assistants do it so we don't have break weeks anymore, and so that we get, more time on you spending on the story and you know what I mean? That's just the selfish wish, but it's against what Oda himself wants. And I kind of see it. It's the whole fun of it for him is not just thinking up an epic panel for Luffy, right? He wants to actually draw that panel of Luffy declaring war on the world government, or Luffy punching the world noble. I get that. That's the actual fun of why you're doing it. It's just fuck, it could be more efficient. The product could come out more efficiently. Super chat from Power Ranger says, Kid could literally crush Queen. Power Ranger says, Kid could literally crush Queen, low diff. Yeah, I mean, I put Kid above Queen. Le Carrier, in my opinion. Le Carrier Ivanku says, Zoro is stronger than Kid, but Kid is beating Zoro. Same goes for Law and Katakuri. Kat is stronger, but he'll lose to Law. I think Katakuri could never lose to Law, because Katakuri hard counters Law, right? Katakuri's Katakuri is one of the hardest counters to Law in the series because Law, most of his shit to work, it has to be unexpected, right? He's not going to overpower you in straight up like hockey to hockey moves or whatever. He's not the fastest movement wise character. Like he's not that guy. So Law, and he doesn't have particularly good observation as far as we know, right? Like his stuff really, really works on characters when they don't know what's coming. The Pirateer says, Morge, I got the Sanji cookbook, but I can't read. Can you hit us with a video tutorial soon? I don't know what that means. Did you guys get HelloFresh? Guys, get HelloFresh. Get HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com, use code Mr. Morge. Fuck, is my code Mr. Morge 16 or Mr. Morge 14? Try both. Try Mr. Morge 16. You get 16 free meals. Go to HelloFresh and try that. 16 free meals. That's insane. I'm not joking just because I'm sponsored by HelloFresh. It actually legitimately does not make sense to me how you just... Isn't 16 free meals like a lot? I know I sound like a shill right now, but I guess the transparency is I do want you guys to go get HelloFresh, but like, side note, isn't like 16 like a lot? Like that's a lot of free things to give out. Weekly Shonen Punch says, Morge, even though I disagree with a lot of your takes, I like your trolling, your bluntness and trolling of extreme takes. I can't wait to see your video after the raid. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what happens there. Juan Perret says, I did get HelloFresh and it was actually pretty good. Juan Perret also says 16, so he got 16 free meals off of HelloFresh. Phantom Greyfire says, professional YouTuber here, clearly. Yeah, get your HelloFresh. Matt Hoey says, I thought your HelloFresh code was DoorDash. Does it look like I have time to cook today? I do not have time to cook today. Busy talking to you guys. The Congo Jack 23 says 16 meals is good enough for one day. What? Don't know what Congo Jack is doing. Kurokami Najima says, you know what? This will be a fun poll. What do we think? Because this is the question that's going on, right? Do we think which team wins? Zoro and Sanji or Kid and Law? Philip Recchia asked a good question. They said, why isn't Wano and the raid split up like Water 7 and Enies Lobby? I mean, I think that's a good question. I think it's just... I mean, when you say why isn't it split up, it's like Water 7 and Enies Lobby are one story arc, right? Just because it takes place in two locations doesn't change. Like, it's like the Water 7 and Enies, like the closing point for Water 7 that most people acknowledge is like partway through the sea train, like they're still on the train or whatever. So it's just like, okay, you know what? We're at Enies Lobby now. Fans will just say it's a new arc. It's mostly a fan thing, you know what I mean? Like just once something starts being called a certain way, it sticks with that. Wano, because it's being called Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, right? I think most people are leaning towards just calling it all one thing. I have a feeling that if we didn't have the act structure, then maybe some people would be saying something like, this is tight. This is a really, really, really tight poll. Really, really tight poll, 53%. All right, we're going to call the poll. Everyone get your last votes in. We're going to close the poll in 10 seconds. 10, 9, speeding it up, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, everyone's that was going to vote probably voted. Zoro and Sanji take it, unless there were some last-second poll submissions that slipped through. Owen Jones's Morge, did you read One Punch Man? Yes. I really, really like One Punch Man is I'm looking forward to this week's chapter. Last week's chapter rubbed some people the wrong way. I can see why. I like to prefer to believe that they know what they're doing and that this is a setup for something a little more extreme. So it's like a lighthearted moment before something significant. Otherwise, it kind of throws off a certain character's trajectory. So I kind of just trust that they know what they're doing. And before last chapter, like the 5 chapters or so before that, fucking amazing stuff. Like really, 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 really creative and exciting. And like, it's hard. It's really, really hard to write a series like One Punch Man where the whole thing is that like nothing really matters, because like, you know, in the back of your head, none of this conflict really matters because there's a dude back there that can come in and like literally one punch all of this with zero effort and zero struggle, right? So it's very hard to make readers like actually legitimately unironically excited about future villains and like the stakes of a situation or like the threat of certain obstacles and challenges. But One Punch Man actually does that. Like the last, like before last chapter, the 5 or so chapters before that, like he was pulling out some really, really creative stuff. Really, really creative stuff. So Zoro and Sanji won. Good stuff. I'm 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 im- I I don't know if I'm surprised or not because Zoro and Sanji should have way more fans than Kid and Law. So the fact that it was that close, it's interesting. It means people think really highly of Kid and Law. Probably just Law. Cosmic Turtle says, "What is the maximum rating you'd give Wano out of 10 if it really does end like this?" I can't speak it on stream. And first of all, just to put a clamp on negativity, I suppose I need to see how it ends, right? Like if you're like, oh, it just ends like if you're like, hey, Big Mom is actually defeated, I'm like, I would probably pause and be something like, Big Mom, the villain that we've been building up since technically pre-time scoot, but really has been had direct involvement in the conflict since Fishman Island, right? The first villain that was set out for the Straw Hats from the start of the New World. Easily top 4 most important villains in the entire series, so above Doflamingo, Crocodile, Enel, Arlong, Hordy, all of those guys, right? Lucci, blah, blah, blah. Top 4 most important villains, has had many arcs of setting up her conflict, had a full 80 chapter arc devoted entirely to establishing her as like a very, very pivotal figure in the One Piece world and one of the single most important characters that Luffy needs to defeat, or needs to be defeated in general, right? All leading up to her being defeated in 1 chapter, technically almost 2 chapters if you scrape together every single panel you can find of her fight, right? But really pretty much just 1 chapter, right? Just defeated in 1 chapter by being that's actually insane to think about, right? So when you say like if it actually just ended here, I'm going to assume that like you don't literally mean just like I'm gonna assume that there will be good stuff to come that maybe makes this arc go up in my mind, even if it were to end here. You know, that's all I can say. Edward Roman says, "Not joking, just looking out for your brother. I tagged you in an informative account on Twitter about seed oils. I would like to see that because I was under the impression that like meat and like red meat and all that stuff is bad for you. Fuck, my chat is frozen. Can I catch up? How did I catch up? Oh my god, I'm behind on some chats. Holy shit, how far behind am I? This is getting ridiculous. Oh no. It's just old stuff that's reloading. Okay. Do I refresh chat? How do I refresh chat? I don't want to like ruin the whole thing. Aslan says there's no fucking way any of you are voting for Zoro and Sanji. I hate to break it to you, Aslan, but I think that's what they're doing. Yeah, I kind of gave it to Zoro and Sanji in my head because of the teamwork aspect. Like both sides bicker, but Zoro and Sanji have like that history down where they're just more proven in teams, you know, history wise. And the chemistry matters. Zoro and Sanji have secret chemistry; they just don't admit it. Kid and Law, they made it work. That's more like they made it work. Philip Rexia says Big Mom versus Kid and Law, best non-straw hat fight since Whitebeard versus Akainu. Yeah, that's probably true. Best non-straw hat fight. Like what else has there been? Best non-straw hat fight since Whitebeard and Akainu. I would give it that. I would agree. I low-key really like Law versus Smoker. If you go back and read that fight, it's just a cool fight. But I can see. Wiego My Ego says Law got handed a shitty crew in exchange for his broken abilities. Dude carries his crew. I agree. Uyu Garcia says, "Hey Morge, want to say that your analysis videos on OP are S tier shit. Thanks, man. Really hope you can make more videos like that. When are you going to give us some Chainsaw Man analysis video? I'm really hyped for the anime." Chainsaw Man, let's wait and see if there's a good time for it. I kind of want to let Wano Act 3 end, let some stuff close out, then think a little bit about like how I want to expand the channel. You know what I mean? Trey Bird says, "You don't remind people often enough about the theories you got right in the past. Like want is about Like, Wano is about Conquerors when everyone else said it's about armament, and Elbaf would cover Conquerors. Listen, you are correct. I still maintain that I got the two biggest theories in all of Wano correct. One, that Big Mom is coming to Wano, which is, like, arguably the most important, like, surprise plot point that we had in Wano, that it's about two Yonko, not just Kaido. So I got that right. And two, I was right about Conquerors Haki. Every single person, every YouTuber you want to see, Reddit, whatever, was talking about how it's an arc about advanced armament Haki. I said no from the start. It's about Conquerors Haki. This is an arc about advanced Conquerors Haki. And I argue, obviously biased, that's the second most important thing in Wano because it's literally the key to defeating the villain. That's literally what the arc, like, that's literally the main upgrade that this entire arc is about, right? It's about Luffy taking that step. Zoro also to a degree, but it's an arc about Conquerors Haki, right? It's the most important, it's the most pivotal ability in the entire arc. So I maintain I got the two most important, or the two biggest theories in Wano correct. I don't talk about it that much because that's your guys' job. Obviously I can come on stream and talk about it because it's my stream, but I'm not going to go around talking about, like, hey, guys, remember the theories that I got correct? I would like to, but I can't do it that often because that makes me look like something. I need to rely on you people to do that. You guys have to remind people of the way things were. If I get the raid failing correct, which I will, most likely, let's say when I get the raid failing correct, then it's over because then it's basically like, it's just like, what else? That's it. That's like easily top 3 most important theories in Wano by far. Raid failing counts as like 50, to be honest. It's worth 50 normal theories. So if I get that right, just keep that in mind. That's essentially the same as getting 50 normal theories, correct? Great man named Leo says, better question. Who do you think is more intelligent, Law or Sanji? I think Law. I think Sanji's like a quick-witted guy, but Law is like a strategist. Like, Law is an actual strategist. Like, Sanji's quick in the moment, and he comes up with good plans on the fly. I guess, yeah, different types of things, right? Sanji, I think, has shown more ability to come up with quick plans on the fly, slightly, although Law's not too shabby at it. Law has a better range of abilities, so he tends to just be able to do more, like swap in a body for himself, or like just certain shenanigans that he's pulled throughout his battles and throughout whatever. Like, but Law overall, he's more of a chess player, right? Like, even little stuff like, oh, you think that this is Smoker's heart? This is actually Monet's heart. Like, little swaps like that he does. And, like, he really planned so much of this, right? So, I don't know. I think I'll give it to Law as smarter than Sanji. God Usopp says, also predicted Zoro conquers Haki. I'm not particularly proud of Zoro conquers Haki because that's like a common theory. Many people thought Zoro would get conquers Haki. I did say that he would get it in Wano, but even then, I think a lot of people were on the train of like, oh, if Zoro gets conquers Haki, it'll be in Wano or it won't happen at all. So I'm not going to be like I don't, like, if it's a theory that other people already had, then I don't view it as a big deal, Like, I'm not the first person to say Zoro gets conquers, or there's other people who said it. But Wano in general being about advanced conquerors Haki, and Zoro getting that, I think that that's a big deal. In my opinion. Babtron says, damn it. Oh, shoot. Scrolled right past. Babtron says, damn it, I took a nap after work and slept through the stream. Do you think Sanji and Zoro could beat Big Mom? Hashtag Babthoughts. Dude, I forget that Babtron, you always end with hashtag Babthoughts, which I actually find hilarious. Sanji and Zoro could beat Big Mom. That is a fucking hard question to answer. Because I did just say, this puts me in such a tricky spot. Because I did just say, fuck, that's a hard spot. I just said that I think that Zoro and Sanji better team than Kid and Law. But now you're actually putting the gun to my head and being like, okay, could they beat Big Mom? I think maybe no. Maybe yes. It depends, dude. Because, it depends. It's just Kid and Law, I think especially with Law's abilities, his abilities work really well when you have one big target, like a Big Mom, like one target that you have the opportunity to get multiple openings on, right? Because his abilities are devastating if they hit, right? I think if you got a 2v2, this is getting really into the weird nitty gritty like 2v2 power scaling now, right? Who's better in teams? Who's better in doubles? But I think like if you put Kid and Law versus against Zoro and Smoker, it's not going to be as like Law was very effective against Big Mom because she's like it's a 2v1, so Law gets lots of openings, right? When she's distracted, and Law's abilities are very devastating, right? In a 2v2, I think I would take Zoro and Sanji over Kid and Law just because I don't think that like I think it's more in that case it's like, it's more like the playing feels more even, right? Like Law's not going to get in his like he's not going to get a chance to just like do like a 80-foot long K room, like pierce someone and do like an 80-foot long K room on them basically, you know what I mean? So I think Kid and Law might be better against Big Mom in the 1v1. I don't know if Zoro and Sanji could beat Big Mom. I think Oda could easily write it in that direction if he chose to. If he was like, oh, Zoro's gonna have like an awakening moment and use Ashra or something like that, or Sanji's gonna like bust out some new move or something, Like we didn't believe that Kid and Law could beat Big Mom till they actually did it, and they showed everything they had. Zoro and Sanji, it's tricky because last we saw of Zoro and Sanji, they were kind of just going to town on King and Queen, right? Like they weren't having that much, like once Zoro got Advanced Conqueror's Haki, once Sanji got his augmented abilities, King and Queen weren't that hard for them. So we didn't get to see the max output of what they can do, I think if we got to see the maximum of what they can do, we'd have a better idea. That's my take on it. So I'm not going to say that they could beat Big Mom. I maintain that they would beat Kid and Law in a team fight, though. The Pirate Hero says if you give Sanji 1 hour of baking prep time, yes. Yeah, no, then they would beat... Yeah. Sanji could actually hard counter Big Mom. That is true. That is true. Oh, you know what? Well, Sanji can't hit Big Mom, but I was kind of just going with the assumption that like we have that ability turned off for this fight. You know what I mean? Oh, my order is arriving in 11 to 16 minutes. Guys, the stream will be ending in about 11 to 16 minutes. Hayes-in says, Morge, bro, personally not really asking you to gauge if Sanji's worthy of Color of Conquerors, but do you think you can make a case for Sanji's Color of Conquerors? Could I make a case? I could make a dishonest case for Sanji having Conqueror's Haki. Like, if you asked me, like, make a case for it, I could, but it would be dishonest because I would think that there's more evidence against than for. I don't think Sanji has Conqueror's Haki. Yeah, I don't think Sanji has Conqueror's Haki. I think that there's more evidence he doesn't than he does. But, maybe I could cherry pick some things and, like, put together something that says he does. Sage Aegis says, Sanji can kick her if she attacks, like, with Reiju. Yeah, like, I think the idea is that Sanji is allowed to do as much that doesn't harm a woman, right? So in the Khalifa incident, Sanji could raise a leg against a woman, but it's to block, right? In Big Mom, it's a little more extreme. Sanji can do a straight-up kick, but it doesn't harm Big Mom, It's a blocking kick. Video Blade says, Mukbang Morge. I don't know about that. I don't think I actually like that cuisine. Steven Brocano says, the way I think about it, Zoro and Sanji could defeat Luffy, therefore they could defeat a Yonko by the end. I do think Zoro and Sanji could defeat Luffy. So why don't I think that Zoro and Sanji could beat Big Mom? I think because I need to see Luffy beat Kaido. It's so tricky. It's like if Luffy busts out like Gear 5th or like Gear 4th Tiger Man and it just looks insane, then who knows? But like part of it is, part of it is, it's just that like, I think we didn't really get to see Zoro and Sanji pushed. We didn't really get to see them pushed. Once they got their power-ups, we didn't see them pushed. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, they can beat a Yonko. Oh, they'll definitely beat Luffy, Luke P says she really isn't a woman in Sanji's eyes. I don't think that's the case. Sanji views all women as women. Kureha, etc. Sean Easton says, you skipped like 6 super chats. Make chat bigger. I'm sorry. Let me take a look. What have I missed? Sorry, dude. But the reason is not chat being small, because I'm looking at a different version of chat than you guys are. It's more so the delay. Let me catch up on these. I'll open up the super chats tab. Well, Phantom Greyfire's got one for me. Miss Super Chat from Cosmic Turtle. If the raid fails, we want you to do the longest victory lap. A month straight of I was right videos and a couple Twitter threads too. You know what? It is best not to you shouldn't like think about potential victory scenarios, you know? That's unbecoming, and it's also embarrassing if you're not correct. So I will decline to comment. If I'm incorrect, then I'm incorrect, but I believe I'll be correct. Miss Super Chat, thank you again, Phantom Greyfire from Aslan. My theory is that Zoro will cut Onigashima in half. Oh, really, Aslan? Is that your theory? Or do you mention that every time that you show up in this stream? Aslan, I think there was one time Aslan showed up and did not mention Zoro cutting Onigashima in half. There was one time it happened. It was actually insane. But in general, Aslan does not miss an opportunity to mention that Zoro will be cutting Onigashima in half. So everyone, you can look forward to that. We're talking about the raid failing. If Zoro cuts Onigashima in half, Aslan is going to go berserk. The amount of shit he's going to talk, I'll have to ban him. I won't want to see him in this chat if Onigashima is cut in half. He will spam shit. He will be toxic. He will tell me I never believed. Miss Super Chat from a great man named Liu. Thank you again, Phantom Greyfire. You're really putting in work here. I'm sorry, man. I think Law is usually more privy to inside knowledge than Sanji. That's true, but I just don't think Sanji is like the type of like he doesn't take it. Even when Sanji is privy, I guess, to inside knowledge, like, you know, he usually knows the gist of what the crew's plan is for the near future, right? I don't think he takes the time to plan in advance in that sense, right? Like Sanji's plans are very. I think he's better at planning on the fly. I think he's really good at planning on the fly. He's usually a very resourceful character in that sense, right? Different types of intelligence. Miss Super Chat from Mr. Crescent. Think we'll ever see a full Roger fight? I believe that we will see a glimpse of Roger versus Rocks in Kaido's flashback. So not a full Roger fight, but I think we will see a glimpse of Roger versus Rocks. Miss Super Chat from Aslan. Nope, we covered you. Covered Aslan. Blue says Kid becomes Shiki. I always thought that the Kid Shiki parallel is a little forced. It's kind of just like, oh well, we know that Shiki exists, therefore we'll try and force in a Shiki parallel. I don't think Shiki was that important back in the day, like relatively speaking. Like he wasn't. I don't think he was that important. You know, like he wasn't like the Whitebeard. Like Whitebeard was Roger's Whitebeard. You know, Shiki, like Kid is more important than Shiki, I believe, will be. Not that Kid will be Whitebeard. I just don't think it's a parallel I think it's a bit of a forced parallel either way. All right, here's the super chats I missed. I've got it up now, I think. Wait, do I? Hold on. We covered who's more intelligent. We covered Babtron's Bab thoughts. Andrew Connor says, hey Moj, what other key figures will we see at the end of Wano? Admiral Green Bull, Vegapunk, Shanks. I still think we'll see Vegapunk by the end of Wano. Shanks I don't think we'll see unless we cut in between Wano to somebody else. Green Bull I think we might see if it turns out that Fujitora and Green Bull are related to Wano in some way. Green Bull I think we could definitely see in the in-betweens as well, besides him and Shanks. Green Bull partly because I'm saying Green Bull like 5 times a sentence, but partly because we began, you know, the arc with him teased, right, as a character. So before Wano began, we got a teasing image of Green Bull. I think we'll see him at some point soon. The demon says, why does Who's Who have the Mary symbol tatted? What? The Mary symbol? Who's Who tattoo. Let me take a look. Who's Who tattoo. I don't know what that is. So I don't have a good answer for you. Sorry, I didn't even think about it. I just don't know what that is. Le Mans says best One Piece panel you'd get as a tattoo. So I've actually thought about this. If the raid fails, I might get a One Piece tattoo. I've wanted to get a One Piece tattoo for like quite some time, but like at the same time, you never know, you know. I'm worried. Okay, part of it is like my fear is like, well, what if One Piece just becomes really bad at some point? And then I'm just like, I got this tattoo of this series that I no longer. I think I'll always love One Piece. I think I'll never love another series like One Piece. But I think I could get to a point where I would no longer want a tattoo of it on my arm, or maybe regret it. But if the raid fails, I'll probably get a tattoo. No guarantees there, but I think I might. Now, a panel that I would get tattooed. See, what I thought was like a Straw Hat logo. I think that'd be cool as a tattoo because it's not like weeby. You know, it just looks like a cool pirate logo with a straw hat. It seems like a fun twist, and for anyone that knows One Piece, they know what the tattoo is. So I think that I might get a tattoo. If I were to get a panel as a tattoo, though, I don't know if I would ever get a panel as a tattoo. A panel as a tattoo is a bit much. I don't think I'd want like a full panel of something. If I had to, like if someone was like, I will murder you if you do not get a One Piece panel tattooed on you, I might get, to be honest, because I wouldn't want it to be that, I'd want it to be a little inconspicuous, so I wouldn't go with like one of my favorite panels. I'd probably try to find a panel that's like a fucking, like a normal panel. Like, maybe like, just like, I don't know, like a panel of some snowy trees or something like that. Or maybe like, I don't know, like something more normal. Maybe a panel of when we first see the Straw Hat, just a panel of the Straw Hat flag. That's like a normal tattoo. I probably wouldn't get like a, not gonna get something complicated like Whitebeard dying or something like that, or you know. Daniel Schulman says nothing. Thanks, man. Great man named Leo says, can you do a top 10 most capable leaders video? Oh, that's actually a really, really interesting idea. Here's the tricky thing. Here's the tricky thing with a video like that. Because there's the idea of, so you say consider everything, not just strength. So no Big Mom, but Streusen would account. Okay. The tricky thing with that is that there's like, would it be my definition of what makes a great leader? Or kind of One Piece's definition of what makes a great leader? Because a lot of One Piece's ideas skew a little bit more towards like simple things. So like simple concept, like the most important thing a great leader needs is a good heart. That's an idea that's stressed throughout first Drum Kingdom, then it's echoed in Alabasta, and more importantly, it's like really focused on in Dressrosa, right? The importance of having a good heart. And that's what makes a good leader, right? Now at the same time, the idea of a kingly spirit or a conqueror spirit, like this otherworldly, really powerful spirit that like inspires people to follow you, right? That's also viewed as a very important thing for leadership, okay? So the One Piece version of a great leader is sort of things like that, right? Like, or Luffy's willingness to grab all of the plagued Udon prisoners by the hands and basically be like, look, I'm taking on the same pains that you all are taking on, right? Things like that. Those are Oda's ideas of a great leader, right? And they're not necessarily wrong. But I would also add in certain things like, how good are they at decision making, right? Like, how good are they at like long-term planning certain things, right? So, and I still view the Oda definition of a great leader as very important, right? Like inspiring other people. That's probably the most important category, like trait of a great leader, to be honest. Since decision making, you can hire people smarter than you. You still need to make the decision, so that matters. But like, decision making is a really important part of being a great leader, right? Solving disputes, things like that. Like, there's real world stuff that applies to being a great leader that One Piece doesn't delve into quite as much. So it's like One Piece's definition, like, hot take, but Luffy would not be a great leader in the real world, right? Luffy is too, if you actually knew someone like Luffy, he is too stupid for anyone to take seriously as a leader, right? Now, if he was extremely strong, that's another case, but I'm saying imagine he wasn't strong. Imagine he's just a regular dude. He's not a great leader anymore, not in the real world. So it depends, right? Like, I think Luffy has some really, really great leadership traits, and in the One Piece world, the context of the One Piece world and what One Piece chooses to highlight about leadership, Luffy is like an 11 out of 10 leader. What I would rate as like realistically what's a great leader, Luffy wouldn't be on my list. it would probably be closer to like, VV probably still makes the list, stuff like that, right? Like it just becomes more complicated. So I don't know if I would do a top 10. I could do 2 versions of it. That'd be fun. That like top 10 videos, I found like that's not what people go to my channel for. So like it's also a little bit lazier content, I would agree. So, oh, is my DoorDash here? But oh, it's here. All right. I'll answer the last few questions, then we'll probably have to call it a day. But yeah, top 10 leader. Yeah, it's like a lazier video, but I think that's like a take on the topic, like what's the best leaders that I think some people might be interested in. Babtron says, what happens right after raid fail? Hashtag Babthoughts. Right after raid fail, I like to believe that we get some split up focus on different characters trying to basically rally together a force to, come back through this, right? But I like to believe that we get some character focus and basically some character moments. LeMan says, fair answer, lol. I've always wanted to get Luffy pointing at the sky, but like you said, I want to wait a little first, lol. Yeah. Cobra was actually a great leader. Koda was a great leader. Taper Hunter says, I don't know, man. People like Donald Trump. Luffy is much more good-natured than that. Yeah, but people didn't like Donald Trump because he's good-natured. Right? Like, guys, Luffy is not just like some slightly dumb guy. Luffy is like it's harsh to say, but he's not mentally how do I say this? I think you guys get what I'm saying. I don't know what the correct way to say it is now, but he's not. If Luffy was in the world, the real world, he would not be. He's technically under the definition of, I guess you would say, like a mentally challenged individual, right? Like by real world definitions. That's as far as I would, like, there's limits to how even like a good natured dumb guy, how far they can get in the world. In the real world, you look at some of the things Luffy does, he's not someone you would ever want in charge of anything. That's all I'll say. DoorDash waiting for me? Yeah. Cringe talking point. I agree. I just don't know, you don't know what people will take and put on the Twitter where everyone's already ready to do things to people. No. My order was dropped off 10 minutes ago? What the hell? You guys just kept me here. GK says Whitebeard would be the best leader. I think Whitebeard would be a good leader. Whitebeard made actually good decisions over the course of the Marineford War, and he inspires everybody, and he's very kind-hearted. Whitebeard would be a great leader in the real